Hello. Welcome to the Fanfic Majesty. If you want more content, you can follow me on Patreon. I will be uploading more content on there that will be exclusive. The link is in the description. Please support me. 5SW 101. Marine has messed with an existence that shouldn't be messed with, a demon that surpasses monsters and is comparable to gods. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. How about it? On the Nine Snakes pirate ship, Robin saw the scene of the marine warship in the distance, and she faced Bai Ye with a smile on her lips. This is the train of thought she provided by Bai Ye in the past year, plus the results of her 1-month practice on Nine Snake Island. And the move that Robin used at this time was exactly the move that she could only master after 2 years, and the move that Flower Fruit developed to a high level was born. Compared with a year ago, her original fruit ability could only use 8 rounds of flowers at most, but in fact, in the past year by Bai Ye's side, her strength has been improved to the point where she can use it at will. Double 16-round flowers, 100-round flowers, develop their own devil fruit ability to a deeper level. Therefore, with the help of her mother-in-law and the Empress in Nine Snakes Island this month, Robin also raised his ability to a high level, so as to achieve the ability of everything. Seeing this move, Bai Ye was still a little surprised. 173. Although compared to the original book, Robin only mastered this ability a year earlier. But don't forget that Robin doesn't have a system, let alone some special powers. In other words, she was extremely serious about shortening the ability that would have taken 2 years to master by 1 year. The energy and hard work that is important in this is definitely not as simple as talent. Bai Ye looked at Robin, thinking of this, he then said. A very good job. Then can I understand it as a compliment? Of course, no problem. Bai Ye nodded with a smile. Immediately, Bai's eyes narrowed slightly. With Bai Ye raising his hand, Bai Ye smiled and said, but don't forget that when fighting, there will always be people who are dishonest. Said the last. Bai Ye's smile became colder. This is a flash of lightning appeared in Bai Ye's palm. Bai Ye grabbed the formed lightning spear, and then threw it in the direction of the marine warship. Whoosh. Advertisement. I saw the moment the lightning spear was thrown. It was a famous flying knife that came into contact with the spear. Although the saber is a world-renowned sword, but unfortunately, in front of the power of the thunder and lightning spear, this saber only persisted for a few breaths, and countless cracks appeared, followed by a loud crash. Then, this is where the spears slammed into the Marine Vice Admiral Stalo Berry. Stalo Berry's color change was visible to the naked eye, and he immediately took out another knife to resist. But in the face of this terrifying power, Stalo Berry chose to give up at the last moment, turned around and jumped to another marine warship. Single quote exclamation mark single quote. Facts have proved that Stalo Berry's choice is correct. A huge explosion and roar sounded when Stalo looked solemnly at his own warship just now. This is a terrifying big hole on the warship with the brilliance from the rear, and it was directly pierced by 1/3 of it. This damned monster. Sure enough. Stalo Berry thought that if he didn't dodge, he would definitely be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Stalo Berry thought in his heart that it was a pity that the sneak attack failed just now, and he couldn't help looking up to look for Bai Ye. However, this time, Stalo Berry didn't notice that Bai Ye was still on the Hydra pirate ship. Damn it! Where did it go? When Stalo Berry found out about this, he couldn't help feeling a little panicked, and turned around to look for Bai Ye. In this mission, although the Empress is a dangerous character, from the beginning to the end, the real danger is that demon. Not to mention that according to Marine's original plan, it shouldn't be possible for that demon to appear here. Are you looking for me? When Stalo Berry couldn't find the demon figure, a voice clearly reached Stalo Berry's ear. This is, beside me. Stalo Berry's pupils narrowed sharply, and he clenched the remaining famous knife and slashed towards the source of the sound without hesitation. Advertisement. Sure enough, from the corner of his eye, he saw that demon came to his current warship at some point. Then, even before Stalo Berry's knife hit Bai Ye's, the light in front of Stalo Berry was covered by a hand. It was Bai Ye who was faster than him, and one hand was already on the face of Stalo Berry, the Marine Vice Admiral. Stalo Berry was just about ready to rebel. The next moment, there was a sound of boom. Stalo Berry with widened pupils, and Bai Ye smashed his head into the deck of the warship with an irresistible force. Facing the serious injury of coughing up blood, Stalo Berry wanted to resist, but when Stolo should have been extremely angry, he felt that the hand pressing his head was not a human being, but a horrifying giant dragon whose stature was constantly enlarging was staring at him with icy lightning. At this moment, Stalo Berry felt that as a Marine Vice Admiral, he was as weak as an ant in front of this demon. Damn, how is this possible? Seeing the Marines around him, Stalo Berry was shocked that he would be instantly killed by one move. Bloodshot eyes began to appear in his eyes, and he wanted to get up angrily. Stalo Berry found that his body was trembling in the face of this man who was so close. I should have killed you, but I just have something to ask you. 0 inches. Bai Ye looked at Stalo Berry's miserable condition, but didn't care the slightest bit. Dare to sneak attack under his nose. In his opinion, death 10,000 times is not enough. Things. HMPH. Damn pirates, I can't see through. Berry gritted his teeth and spoke halfway, but when he saw Bai Ye's cold eyes, Berry swallowed the words back abruptly. Then, the next moment, Berry's pupils dilated suddenly after noticing the surrounding situation, as if he had seen an unspeakable horror happen. No wonder Berry was such a shocker. Advertisement. Because he saw it. It's this demon, manipulating the forces of nature. Berry's tragedy. Because of the trembling and panic in my heart, my body couldn't help shaking. Then, it was Berry screaming in his heart that it was impossible with almost all his strength. He is a vice admiral who has rarely experienced some at war, so he naturally understands Bai Ye's ability. But, Berry was not involved in the Chitra Wolf incident, and Kizaru's speculation was only known to a very small number of Marine executives. So, Berry didn't discover this fact enough to make the world's scalp tingle until now. This demon. Has hidden strength. The man in front of me actually has more than 3 devil fruit abilities. 4.1 When Berry was so horrified by the facts in front of him that he was completely stunned, Bai Ye ignored Berry. He is keeping this vice admiral alive now because he has something to ask, and he will kill him after he finishes asking. But, before this, there is no need to keep these marine warships, right? Bai Ye stood in the air, and as Bai Ye raised his hand, at some point, the sea around Bai Ye was surging, and at the same time, there were several sea tornadoes that seemed to connect to the sky, surrounding 4 directions, exuding horror and destruction breath. As the sky darkened, Bai Ye only needed one thought to know the power of the sea tornado. It was also at this moment that Berry realized. Marine has provoked an existence that shouldn't be provoked. This kind of power is no longer human beings or monsters, but Berry thought of an indescribable word. God. A demon that transcends monsters and is comparable to gods. 102. It seems that Kaido should really change its name. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Dragon's Namikaze. Bai Ye clasped his 5 fingers and threw it towards the marine warship. The terrible sea spout made people see what is the nightmare of the sea fleet. No matter how marine struggles, every warship is as vulnerable as an ant in the face of the sea spout that connects the sky and the earth. Rumble. The moment the sea spout symbolizing the power of nature came into contact with the warship, 20 marine warships were engulfed, shattered, and disappeared. In just a few breaths, when the tornado dissipated, the turbulent blue sea returned to calm, leaving only some fragments that were fortunate enough to float on the sea surface, showing that there was a naval headquarters fleet here just now. Berry was caught in Bai Ye's hands. As Marine Vice Admiral, he watched a fleet be destroyed with a wave of his hand. Berry was still in a daze for a long time, unable to recover from the panic. Okay, now it's your turn. Bai Ye's voice brought the Marine Vice Admiral back to his senses, and seeing the other party's frightened look, Bai Ye felt that it was easier than expected to ask something. At the same time, this sea area is full of debris of marine warships, not far from the ship of the 9 Snake Pirates. The mother-in-law stared at the man who destroyed a fleet of the 30th Navy when he raised his hand, and the mother-in-law's heart couldn't help but change from surprise to shock. As the emperor before the 3rd generation of 9 Snake Island, Granny Zha lived for a long time and saw countless so-called monsters known as great pirates, who eventually disappeared into history. But when I think back to just now, Bai Ye's terrifying power to destroy a marine fleet just now. When the mother-in-law came back to her senses, she had to admit that the strength of that man surpassed all the monsters she had ever seen, even the dangerous existence that was wiped out by the world government in more than 40 years was probably the same. Advertisement. If it's his. The mother-in-law turned her head to look at the other female fighters on the 9 Snake Pirates ship, who were also in shock. The mother-in-law bowed her head and was very sure that her previous thoughts were correct. In this era of great changes, this man will be related to the future of Jew Snake Island. At this time, Bai Ye finished asking the matter from a distance, and the thunder gun directly pierced the Marine Vice Admiral in his hand. Since he dared to sneak up on his woman, in Bai Ye's eyes, it would not be a pity to die 10,000 times. And through this incident, it just happened to ring the bell for Marine. If you want to die, no one will stop you. How about it? Bai Ye returned to the captain of the 9 Snake Pirates, and the Empress couldn't help but look. Marine suddenly struck, there must be something weird in it. As the Emperor of 9 Snakes Island, Hancock can understand with a little thought. At this time, Robin also looked over. Bai Ye didn't intend to completely hide Marine's plans. The fact that this group of Marines are here means that the Marines are preparing to attack the New World. What? Hands on New World? The mother-in-law couldn't help but widen her eyes and said. New World is known as the paradise of pirates, and there is another big pirate like Emperor D. Junline New World. It has only been a short year since Marine wants to attack New World. It's an order from Akainu. Bai Ye said. I see, it's Akainu. Advertisement. Robin was thoughtful. She still remembers what Bai Ye said before, there are very few idiots in Marine, except Akainu. And from Akainu's previous series of stupid actions, it also proved in disguise how miraculous it is that Akainu can still serve as a marshal. This is normal, and the world government probably won't be able to find another marshal like this. Bai Ye laughed. Bai Ye remembers that although Akainu is stupid, but from the perspective of the world, he is regarded as a loyal dog. The purpose is to completely control the marine government through Akainu, and absolutely not allow the departure of Zephyr and Aokiji to happen again. Although there is currently no news in the world that Aokiji has left naval headquarters, but under this premise, leaving aside the smooth Kizaru, 2 new admirals who joined the marine government without knowing the purpose. Even if the world government intends to change the marshal, it is estimated that there is no reliable candidate. Master Bai Ye, is there anything else besides this matter? Empress Hancock looked up at Bai Ye. Akainu is known as the most stupid marshal in the history of marine, but if Akainu has no confidence, he should not be too forceful to plan to attack New World. Bai Ye nodded. Yeah. The voice fell, and I saw the eyes gathered around me. Bai Ye continued with a smile and said, Akainu alone doesn't have the guts, but, if the world government reaches an agreement with Kaido and Charlotte Linlin, how about they join forces to attack New World? Exclamation mark. The world government will team up with those 2 troublesome monsters. After the voice fell, Grandma Za and the female fighters of 9 Snake Island who had been listening around could not help but gasp subconsciously. The world government teamed up with the pirates, and they are also one of the strongest pirates known as the New World Sea Emperor. This kind of thing, it's no wonder they can't help but gasp. Advertisement. I'm afraid that if this matter is announced to the whole world, it will inevitably cause great disturbance in Xuanyuan, right? At this time, even Robin and the Empress couldn't help but feel slightly depressed when they heard the news. Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. These are 2 great pirates known as the New World Sea Emperors. Although they knew that the 2 might not be as strong as Whitebeard, but they were definitely stronger than the ordinary marine admiral. In addition, these 2 combined to control nearly 1/3 of New World's territory. If the 2 troubles of the world government and 677 join hands, then with the marine government's forces. This force cannot be ignored by anyone. Don't worry. Bai Ye reached out and brushed Robin's hair behind his ear, and he said with a smile, it seems that in the past year, many people have forgotten me. With me here, don't worry. Well, Robin noticed the sudden gazes of the female warriors from 9 Snake Island, and her ears were slightly red, so she nodded. Afterwards, Robin raised his head and looked at the man in front of him who was as calm as ever no matter what he faced, with a smile on the corner of his mouth. That's right, no matter what it is, Bai Ye chooses to believe her, so all she has to do is trust the man who possesses her. Immediately, Bai Ye nodded with a smile, and Bai Ye looked in the direction of New World. There is one thing that Bai Ye didn't actually say, and that is. The first thing Kaido and the world government cooperated with was to send their men to seize the Mermaid Island, a place that connects the 4 seas and the New World. In other words, their purpose is already self-evident. These Marines are here to hold him back. It seems that Kaido should really change its name. Bai Ye murmured, a slight coldness appeared in his eyes. New World, it's time for him to go back to 9%. 103. They are really too active. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At the same time. New World. From New World to all over the world, you must pass through the red line here. A pirate ship appeared here. Along the way these pirate ships passed, almost all the pirates who didn't have eyes chose to stay far away. Boss, why are we running? Those pirates don't look like much. A pirate ship that was avoiding here, a pirate cadre couldn't help pouting. When the captain of the pirate ship heard this sentence, he slapped his subordinate directly on the face, knocking him to the ground. He quickly looked at the few pirate ships in the distance as if they didn't pay attention to this place, and he was relieved from the bottom of his heart, cursing the idiot secretly. These stupid subordinates didn't see the signs on those pirate ships. If what you just said is heard, not only you will die, but Lousy and the people on this ship will be buried with you, you idiot. Boss, is it that serious? The cadre got up from the ground, touched his painful face, and wanted to refute. The pirate captain couldn't help gritting his teeth. At this moment, he suddenly heard the panicked voices from his subordinates. He couldn't help turning his head to follow the eyes of his subordinates, and his mouth couldn't help being afraid of Mrs. Zhang. I saw, as far as I could see, this was the direction of the pirate ships just now, and countless black cannonballs flew to occupy the sky like raindrops. The location where the shells landed is exactly where they are. Why? They should obviously not. Advertisement. The pirate captain's legs couldn't help trembling, and following his thoughts, there was only one word left, escape. Boom, boom, boom. Not far away, there are several pirate ships here, one with ivory as decoration on the leading pirate ship. The weapon developed by Lord Quinn is really powerful, and every time it is used, it is so wonderful. A pirate stands here, and he has artificial devil fruit ability marks on his body. Afterwards, he looked at a 5 or 6 meter tall man behind him, who stood there like a giant beast exuding a sense of oppression. It was Jack, one of the 3 disaster cadres of the beast's pirates, and handed over a telescope respectfully. Jack took the binoculars coldly, and watched in the distance that the shells were completely destroyed first, and then the green poisonous gas killed all the surviving pirates, so Jack didn't pay attention. He said coldly, "Okay, a bunch of ants who only dare to talk secretly about our beast's pirates, let's go on." Yes, Sleepy Tianping. By the way, Master Jack, aren't we waiting for Master Quinn to come? When the pirate mentioned the name Quinn, he couldn't help hesitating. Hearing this, Jack waved his hand, stared at the trembling pirate with cold eyes, and said, "Do you think that Brother Quinn needs to come along with the task ordered by Master Kaido? Lousy alone can solve the mere Mermaid Island, or..." Jack's sense of oppression was getting stronger, and his voice was cold. "Do you think Lousy's strength is not enough?" As soon as the words fell, the men next to Jack already had panic all over their faces, and sweat dripped down their faces. He hastily waved his hands and said, "No, no, no. You definitely don't mean that. You definitely don't mean that. You alone are enough for this mission." Advertisement. Beast's pirates have always respected the strong. Dare to question the strength of the cadres, isn't he courting death? After a while, Jack saw that his subordinates were almost completely trembling on the deck, so Jack looked away. And coldly gave the order to move forward. Goal: Mermaid Island. Thereafter, Amazon Lily. Daughter Country. After dealing with the incoming marine, the Nine Snake Pirates left some phone bugs for monitoring and returned to Nine Snake Island. The same is true for Bai Ye. At this time moves. Bai Ye plans to return to New World tomorrow. It also means that his last month on Nine Snake Island is coming to an end. Although Bai Ye did not publicly agree to Granny Z's request. However, after Bai Ye shot Marine this time, Daughter Country. Next, it is estimated that the Empress will also be deprived of her Shichibukai status. In this way, Daughter Kingdom is naturally Bai Ye's power territory in the eyes of the outside world. It is conceivable that this matter will probably spread to the whole world as big news tomorrow. After all is one of Shichibukai, the second is one of the three Fang Ping balances to maintain this Shili. Advertisement. Now that he chooses to surrender to that devil, I am afraid that no one can't help but think about it. What's more, Nine Snake Island is a kingdom where all the people are soldiers. Even from the perspective of a kingdom's strength, Nine Snake Island is one of the kingdoms with the highest combat power in the world. Not to mention, there is also the pirate queen Boa Hancock who will be conquered, and her strength should not be underestimated. Of course, these are all things for tomorrow. This moment. Bai Ye returned to the kingdom room. Bai Ye saw Robin showing a mysterious and expectant smile. Knowing Robin's occasional black-bellied personality, Bai Ye Li's touched his chin, quietly releasing a hint of knowledge. The next moment, Bai Ye couldn't help being stunned. Hancock ran to him. Looking at the slightly raised anticipation of the corners of Robin's mouth in front of him, he thought of the murmurs that his mother-in-law whispered in Hancock's ear day and night. Looks like Hancock is onto something. Of course, there must be Robin's help in this. After all, the person who has had the most contact with the Empress this month is Robin. Not to mention Robin's secret look of anticipation now, it's already betrayed her. Think here. Bai Ye pretended not to notice, so he hugged Robin as usual. Just like that, Bai Ye, naturally, returned to the room. After all, they are really too active. Call 104. Warm up before the opening. Shocking news, the Don Quixote family can't be messed with. Next chapter. Advertisement. Spin overnight. The next day. When Bai Ye was about to go to New World, he really received a big news like a flood sweeping the world, Grand Line, Sabayati Archipelago, and New World. This news was released overnight by World Economic News. The source of the news is naturally the order issued by the Marine government last night. Open this newspaper. I saw that the headlines during the above period had all been replaced, and then there was an extremely eye-catching headline. The Marine government announced today that one of the original Shichibukai, Boa Hancock, will be removed from the list. The following reason is that the Pirate Queen turned against the demon that ended the Summit War, and together destroyed the fleet sent by Marine, brutally killed Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and so on. From today, Pirate Queen's Shichibukai privilege will be revoked, and she will no longer enjoy any protection privileges from Snake Island. To put it simply, the Pirate Queen has become the enemy of the Marine government. The news is actually not very long, but it occupies half of the newspaper's report. The reason is as predicted by Bai Ye. Hancock, as the Emperor of Nine Snake Island and one of the Shichibukai, apparently maintains one of the three major forces in the world. Now being delisted by Marine, the impact on the world is bound to be unsettled. In particular, reports indicate that Nine Snake Island has something to do with him. It is very likely that it has become one of his affiliated forces. Bai Ye estimates that it will not take 190 days, and the outside world may have begun to be uneasy now. But that's okay. Looking at the report in his hand that says it's the big news, Morgan's, Bai Ye slowly moved his 5 fingers, and then clasped them. Almost a year has passed without knowing it, and this report should be regarded as a warm-up before the opening. Bai Ye thought of this. Advertisement. At the same time. All over the world as Bai Ye expected, when this news released by the World Economic News was released, it caused a huge sensation all over the world. Sabayati Archipelago. The area where the alpine mangrove grows here. Umi, Pirate Empress isn't Shichibukai anymore. Hey, this report is a lie, right? The Pirate Empress was removed from the Marine government. This is Shichibukai, one of the 3 major powers in this world. Ha ha ha, What Shichibukai, Pirate Empress, and the three major forces are just a group of predators. Does the Marine government seem to be going to do something? No, that's not right, Gouda. You should carefully look at the reason why the Pirate Empress was dismissed. Reason. What do you mean? This is. Hiss. Yes, it's that demon. That demon. A demon. A strong guy. Bastard. You're dead. That's the Lord. If anyone hears, dab, will die. Some people on the Sabayati archipelago were excited and some were shocked, but when they saw the reason for the removal of the Empress from the newspaper, almost everyone felt a huge wave in their hearts at the same time. The demon of Summit War, Chitra Wolf, the source of the event that caused the new Marine Marshal to suffer. For nearly a year, although there was no news of that demon in the whole world. But no one can forget the terrifying power that makes the world terrified. Even recalling it now, many people still remember that horrible war as if it was yesterday, and they couldn't breathe due to trembling. And Bai Ye didn't know that although he had been silent for nearly a year, there were many more pirates in the world who wanted to join him. This is especially the case not long ago, after the New World Marine Government and World Government clashed with the Four Emperors Alliance. That conflict directly affected the New World, and countless forces were forced to stand in line. Advertisement. As a result, the final impact was that countless forces were thrown into this battle as cannon fodder. Since then, countless people have known the importance of backing. However, the territory and manpower of the veteran Four Emperors have almost reached saturation. No matter which veteran Four Emperors they join, the most they join is to become minions or the most ordinary members. As a result, many ambitious forces passed the news of the capital of Seven Waters and thought of the existence of Bai Ye. That horror is comparable to or even surpasses the terrifying strength of the peak Four Emperors, coupled with the fearless behavior of the world government and the marine government. Therefore, coupled with the fact that the most critical Bai Ye has no affiliated forces, many such pirate forces have been born. Moreover, Bai Ye's reputation in the whole world has long been comparable to the horror of the Four Emperors, but Bai Ye, the Emperor of the Sea, doesn't pay much attention to himself, so he doesn't feel much. In fact, it is not an exaggeration to say that if Bai Ye appeared in Sabayati Archipelago now, Bai Ye's name would be as scary as a child would cry when he heard it. Of course, another point is that since the Summit War, for Sabayati Archipelago, celestial dragons have never appeared again, which is naturally a good thing for the local residents. Thereafter, all around the world, Four Seas, Grand Line, New World, etc. A scene similar to the Sabayati Archipelago is constantly being staged. Thereafter, New World, a kingdom called Demise Rosa is here. Dover, this is the big news this morning. It's unbelievable that a woman as proud as the Pirate Empress was conquered by that demon, he. With a runny nose and a cane in his hand, this is Toripal, the cadre of the Don Quixote family, who ran to a balcony of a royal palace. He looked at the man in the pink coat with flamingo feathers, and Toripal, the sticky fruit ability, suddenly stunned. Today's young master doesn't seem very happy. Moreover, the young master is already holding a newspaper in his hand. Dover, you've actually seen the news. Toribal stepped forward and couldn't help but said. The man was Doflamingo. Doflamingo ignored Toribal, but clenched his palms tightly. Along with the veins on his forehead, Doflamingo exuded an aura of anger. Dover, what's the matter with you? Toribal felt Doflamingo's anger and stepped forward. Advertisement. As a result, after a long time, Doflamingo got up and looked down at the entire Demise Rosa kingdom that seemed to be surrendering under his feet, gritted his teeth and said slowly, damn, I was tricked by that bastard Kaido. Kaido. Dover, what's going on? Hearing the name Kaido, Toribal's pupils froze. After all, as one of Don Quixote's senior cadres, Toripal is very aware of the deal between their family and Kaido, and monsters like Kaido are not something their family can easily provoke. Doflamingo didn't speak, but his eyes under the sunglasses were full of gloomy and cold. And the shredded newspaper in his hand proves that Doflamingo's fire is about to reach its peak. Then, with Doflamingo's opening, Toribal's heart sank, and his eyes couldn't help showing anger and fear gradually. Just 2 days ago, Kaido's cadre Quinn suddenly wanted to use their boat to go to Mermaid Island. At first, Toribal, or Doflamingo also thought that Kaido was interested in Mermaid Island. After all, there are constant disputes among the emperors at sea, and things like territory are perfectly normal. It can be accompanied by the release of this news this morning. Plus Marine obviously knew the location of the demon, but didn't notify the Don Quixote family in advance. So, Kaido's real purpose of sending out his subordinates, along with this news, is already self-evident. And half of them are using their ships. The ships of their Don Quixote family. Although Doflamingo doesn't know what Marine is up to. But once the bastards of the Beast's pirates collide with that demon. Rao Border reacted slower than Doflamingo, and he also realized the fact that he couldn't help anger and fear. One side is Kaido, and the other is the strongest demon of the new era. The Don Quixote family is going to be chosen to stand in line. And if you choose Kaido, it means that they have changed from a cooperative relationship to Kaido's subordinates and become one of the affiliated forces, but if you don't choose. In the face of the demon that made the world tremble, is this an existence that their family can afford? Thinking of this, Torrebel looked at the angry Doflamingo, and he already had an answer in his heart that made him tremble. The Don Quixote family. Not to be messed with. 105. The plan of the world government. Bai Ye has left Calm Belt. Purpose: Mermaid Island. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. And while Doflamingo was shocked and furious, this news report also began to spread to all parts of the world. Wanokuni, Ghost Island, IWC, Cake Island, Whitebeard Sea. The red hair and others all began to receive the news. At this time, Wanokuni, Ghost Island, gurgle gurgle gurgle. What a joy, ha ha ha. Lin, the wine over there is really good. Here in Guadao Cave, Kaido, who looks like a demon king descended into the world, gulped down drinks from all over the world, and his eyes looked at the two contact phone bugs in front of him. These two phone bugs, one without a doubt, the image of the vicious old woman on it is his four emperor's ally, Charlotte Lin, the captain of the Big Mom Pirates. Another phone bug, if someone is here, it will definitely scare people's eyes. Because the face mask image on this phone bug is a member of the CPO of world government. Kaido. The tone of Charlotte Linlin's opening revealed an oppressive aura. Although it was just a phone bug, it gave people the illusion that Charlotte Linlin himself was here. It can be seen that as a natural destroyer, Charlotte Linlin puts a lot of pressure on people. At the beginning of the voice, even the phone bug who belonged to the world government CPO's face became slightly dignified. Advertisement. After all, this is a conversation between four emperors, and these two guys, one is a natural destroyer, and the other is the strongest creature in the sea, land and air world. Song knows the madman who fights. Even if the world government knows that there are undercover agents in these two character pirates, it still has to be vigilant when dealing with these two big troubles. They are well aware of the threat of the combination of these two monsters, not to mention that they are both crazy. Kaido, the old lady on your side has heard about it. How is the current situation? Don't you want to tell the old lady that it hasn't been done yet? Googling. Lin, why worry? Lousy subordinates are not your old woman's subordinates, and things will definitely be done, but the guy who reappeared now seems to be in the limelight. Kaido glanced at the newspaper delivered by his subordinates this morning, his tone was full of coldness and disdain. Nearly a year ago, if it weren't for this guy, he would have already occupied Whitebeard's territory by now. Why bother talking nonsense with an old woman like Charlotte Linlin now? Therefore, speaking of their grievances between the Beast's pirates and this guy, it has been accumulated for a long time. That's good, but I want to remind you. The vivid image on the phone bug became a bit hideous, and Charlotte Linlin continued, the life of that bastard must be taken by my mother in the end. If you dare to kill the general under my mother, I will not just let him go, my mother will definitely take it. Let him know what life is better than death. It doesn't matter to Lousy, as long as Lousy's people take down Mermaid Island first, this guy can't rush to New World so quickly. Right. Kaido spoke disdainfully, and suddenly looked at the phone bug who contacted the world government, and said coldly, you world government remember to abide by the agreement. The white phone bug was silent for a moment before a flat voice came out, you two can rest assured that world government will abide by our agreement. Okay, but, you world government, don't forget what will happen to you if you dare to deceive us. The cold voice and oppressive momentum fell, and after Charlotte Linlin finished speaking, Ghost Island gradually fell silent. However, if you look outside Ghost Island at this time, you will find that these are pirate ships belonging to Beast's pirates that have already assembled. And on this day the world is destined not to be peaceful. East Blue. Here is the windmill village where an old man led his grandson to rebuild. Advertisement. That guy Akainu is still in such a hurry, as expected, I still like that guy Aokiji better. A muscular old man rolled up his sleeves and took the senbei from the hand of the old man who came down from a warship at the port in front of him. The old man's ID is Marine Hero Garp. Sengoku looked at Garp recovering from his injury more than half a year ago, and then stayed here for half a year on the grounds of educating his grandson. Afterwards, Sengoku noticed the movement of Garp who snatched his senbei, and a black line appeared on his forehead. If it weren't for him to act as Marshal Marine for nearly a year. Let alone the bastard in front of him. Reinvented. His grandson, I'm afraid it's a good thing that Akainu doesn't come to cause trouble. There were more and more black lines on his forehead. Sengoku thought of the news he just learned today, and sighed. Okay, that guy Akainu shouldn't be that stupid yet. Garp revealed a gleam of surprise. You actually agree with that guy Akainu? 0 for flowers. Sengoku said with black lines all over his forehead. I mean that Akainu couldn't think of so many incidents, and there is a high probability that the people behind these incidents are instructing. Garp was stunned, patted Sengoku on the shoulder and said with a smile. Just tell me, how could that fellow Akainu get your approval? Garp. Sengoku's face darkened even more when he saw Garp's incomprehensible expression. Garp finally got serious, frowned slightly, crossed his arms and said, so, are those 5 old men from the world government? 5 old. Although Sengoku couldn't help complaining about Garp's age, Sengoku still nodded solemnly. With Akainu's IQ, Sengoku has no doubts at all, and it can be said that he is the most stupid marshal in history. Therefore, the only thing that can promote the succession of 3 major events in this month is the world government. Point 0. So, what's the reason why you came to see the old man? Garp said while chewing on the senbei. Sengoku glanced at the windmill village road behind Garp. I'm here to inform you that your vacation is almost over. Advertisement. This is about to end. Garp sighed a little after hearing the words. There was no surprise. Sengoku nodded. He is no longer the interim marshal. Although he was ready to retreat to the background after the summit war, he still could not disobey Marine's orders. Seeing Sengoku's appearance, Garp suddenly asked, is it because of that demon? As he spoke, Garp took out a piece of news published by the World Economic News this morning from his pocket. You already know. Sengoku's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Garp said with some nostalgia. I don't have that monster that easily forgets to injure me. In the past year, you don't think that I don't have any news channels when I stay in the country. Sengoku. There are more black lines on Sengoku's forehead. Garp then suddenly continued. By the way, Sengoku. Okay. Garp looked at the newspaper in his hand and said, where do you think this monster might be now? Where will it be? Sengoku was taken aback. What's the meaning? Thereafter. Just when Garp suddenly asked this question. The other side. Bai Ye has left Calm Belt. Destination. Mermaid Island. 106. The Fishmen Island in despair, arrived. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Time pushes. The seabed is 10,000 meters deep, the Fishmen Island is here. Here is the must pass to the new world. Although the Fishmen Island lies under the deep ocean, there is also sky and clouds. And because the giant tree, Yangshu Eve, growing near the Fishmen Island can transmit the sunlight from the ground to the Fishmen Island, so the Fishmen Island in the deep sea will also have sunshine and day and night changes. In addition, this is the place where the rare and beautiful races of Mermaid and Murloc were born. With the beautiful environment of Mermaid Island, there is also a undersea paradise, a dreamy paradise. Usually, there are pirates who arrive here by ferry every day, wanting to go to the new world. And every year, the pirates from the four seas in the first half of the Grand Line will have a supernova ranking. But just today, usually, those pirates from all over the world are almost completely slaughtered in 1, 3, 2, 3, sky. The so-called annual supernova is also vulnerable in the face of the invaders who descended on Mermaid Island this time, and some even boast that they want to get the sea. The pirate with the head of the thief was scared out of his wits, and only dared to tremble on the ground. The reason is simple. Click. A group of ants who don't know the heights of the sky and the depths of the earth dare to attack us beasts pirates. A sturdy 5-6 meter high figure crushed the throat of the pirate in his hand, and threw it under his feet like garbage. Jack the Drow didn't bother to pay attention to the frightened and incontinent weak pirates around him, and gave an order. Kill all the rubbish that robs us of the way, and then, completely capture this island. Boss Jack. Don't worry. He. Just watch our show. Advertisement. Jack the Drow gave an order, and those pirates who couldn't hold back for a long time showed excitement and bloodthirsty light. As a member of the Beast's Pirates whose strength is the most important thing, everyone has killed many guys in order to climb up. It is easy for them to capture the island. And this is Mermaid Island. You must know that outsiders want to buy a beautiful mermaid slave, but at least tens of millions of Baileys are needed, and there is even a state of price but no market. It is conceivable that the population of Mermaid Island is close to 5 million. If they capture this place today, they will make a fortune. With such a great contribution, they will definitely be able to improve their status even more. Subsequently, the invaders from the Beast's Pirates have started a full-scale invasion and capture of Mermaid Island. Despair, panic, and fear soon swept across the entire Mermaid Island. The national strength of Mermaid Island is actually not weak. Since the Murloc males possess 10 times the physical fitness of ordinary humans, Mermaid Island is one of the most powerful kingdoms in the entire world. If it weren't for this, Mermaid Island wouldn't be able to stay here in the depths of 10,000 meters for a long time. However, this time, the enemy they have to face is one of the 3 strongest disasters from New World, known as the Emperor of the Sea, second only to Kaido. In front of Jack the Drow and the man-made demon fruit power core, Mermaid Island fought fiercely with Jack the Drow. But soon, the soldiers on Mermaid Island suffered a large number of casualties. Although the Murlocs have 10 times the physical fitness of ordinary humans, none of the pirates under Kaido is not extremely vicious. The blood-stained pirates, coupled with the ability of man-made devil fruit, are naturally not a vicious army that they can resist. The battle started for less than an hour, and Mermaid Island was forced to lose 1/3 of its territory, and many soldiers were killed. Most of the mermaids were forced to retreat to the kingdom. But since this is the case, Neptune, the king of Mermaid Island, is also very clear that he can only protect Mermaid Island for a while here. If this continues, their Mermaid Island will definitely be captured by the other party. Advertisement. From the bloodthirsty level of Jack the Drow, Neptune already has a horrific picture if Mermaid Island is occupied by the other side. My country, your majesty the king. It's bad, our phone bugs can't contact the outside world. What? The surrounding ministers were shocked. What about the world government? World government. Yes, it's a refusal. The soldier bit the bullet and brought the bad news that made everyone fall into an ice cave. The phone bug was cut. World government is refusing to accept again. All kinds of. Neptune gritted his teeth. He can already guess that the world government must know about the things here, and it even has something to do with the world government, but the world government has chosen to refuse to accept this kind of matter. In other words, those guys are very likely to be conducting a kind of exploration. As the king of Mermaid Island, Neptune knows very well why the world government is afraid of the existence of Mermaid Island. Most of the reasons for everything stem from a secret that only the royal family of the Fishmen Island can know. Point 0. One of the 3 legendary ancient weapons in this world, Poseidon. Poseidon is actually not an item, but a creature. Every 100 years, a mermaid royal family will be born with a special ability to talk to Poseidon. This is the reason why the world government is afraid, but if the world government is a kind of temptation. Neptune knew that no matter what the crisis would be like today, the world government would probably regard Mermaid Island as one of its thorns. Damn bastard. Neptune couldn't help clenching his fist and smashing it through the palace floor. Your Majesty Neptune. Your Majesty. No good. Those invaders have come to the kingdom. Advertisement. Just then, another terrified minister brought another piece of desperate news. Then, there was a sound of boom. An explosion sound wave enough to shake the palace rose in the distance, and everyone couldn't help but look at the sound and shadow phone bug. Their hearts sank to the bottom in an instant. I saw above, the gate of the royal palace was violently blasted open by a giant mammoth exuding a destructive aura. And lost the 30-meter-high gate of the palace. Then the next result is self-evident. Desperation, fear, panic. Watching Jack the Drow who violently opened the door, everyone couldn't help but feel despair and other emotions in their hearts. At the same time, the deep sea outside Mermaid Island. A ship without the special coating of Sabayati Archipelago is sailing at a depth of 10,000 meters. If you look carefully at this ship 3.4, you will find that it is an invisible wind that blocks the surrounding sea water. Although it is located in the deep sea, there is no sea water that can pour into this ship. I didn't expect the situation here to be so serious. From the deck, a man looked at the Mermaid Island not far below with thick smoke and many ruins, and rubbed his forehead. Forget it, it's really stupid for these people to think of such a plan to stop him. However, considering who should be protecting here, the man silently wrote down a reward for the wine. Now, it's time for them to pay the price. When the thought came to this point, the boat under the man's feet exploded at a speed much faster than the sailboat, heading towards the beautiful island in the deep sea ahead, the Fishman Island. At this moment, the identity of the man is self-EV'd. 107. The Crisis of the Fishman Island, Bai Ye. Is it fun? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At this time. The Fishman Island. Neptune's palace here. Boom. 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 After the outermost gate of the palace was destroyed by Jack the Drow, members of the Beasts Pirates quickly began to invade the palace like beasts, burning, killing and looting, which was commonplace for them. Although the remaining palace soldiers on the Fishman Island were desperately resisting, they still suffered heavy casualties when faced with the leadership of one of the Beasts Pirates' 3 disasters. The desperation here. This moment. The palace is here. Under the leadership of Jack the Drow, it only took a short time for Drought and his party to enter the palace of the Fishman Island and come to the main hall. It can be said that at this point, the entire the Fishman Island has almost completely fallen, and it is only a matter of time before it is taken over by the Beasts Pirates. Jack the Drow returned to human form from a giant mammoth, trampled to death a soldier while the ministers of the Fishman Island trembled, and looked at the largest mermaid in the hall with gloomy eyes. Are you the 30th king of the Fishman Island? Lousy will not remind you of the second sentence. This place will be Mr. Kaido's domain from now on. Now, do you choose to accept the domination? Or die? The tone under the iron mask reveals a gloomy and cold tone, and the dead soldiers of the Fishman Island under their feet represent absolute cruelty. The breath of despair permeated the entire the Fishman Island palace, and spread to the Fishman Island. Advertisement. All the ministers and the residents who took refuge were full of anger and despair. And the mermaid looking at Jack the Drow as the current king of Mermaid Island, Neptune. Neptune looked at Jack the Drow without fear. He glanced at the dilapidated palace, the dead and wounded soldiers, and the tragedy of the Fishman Island. The next moment, Puton gritted his teeth and smashed his weapon at Huang Jack. This move already represented Neptune's answer. As the king of Mermaid Island, Neptune knew what kind of scum these guys were from the way Jack the Drow invaded. No matter whether he accepted domination or other options, it was impossible for him to hand over the Fishman Island to this kind of people. Badass hands. Neptune held the golden trident in his hand and slammed it at Jack. With the other hand, he used Murloc karate with all his strength to protect the palace residents. Jack the Drow looked at the trident falling from the top of his head, but he didn't dodge or dodge, and said coldly, "Since you have already made a choice, then, go to die." With a fierce look in his eyes, Jack the Drow drew out his curved sickle weapon and collided with Neptune, and a terrifying wind pressure erupted from both of them in an instant. With a sound of boom, the subordinates behind him were actually blown away. Jack was slightly surprised. Unexpectedly, this huge mermaid king still has a little strength. However, Jack the Drow lifted his other hand up suddenly with bruised veins, and said in a low voice, "That's all." After the words fell, Upton's expression changed. Then, it was a terrifying scene. Jack actually picked up the king's golden trident in the despair of the ministers and residents of the Fishmen Island. The next moment, another sickle left a very long bloodstain on His Majesty's chest. The wound was 3 meters long and terrifying, and blood was flowing out quickly. Because of the sudden injury, Neptune couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, even though he used his arms with blue veins to forcefully support his body and didn't fall down. Advertisement. But the strength of the two has been determined from this moment. It seems to be nothing more than that. Jack glanced coldly at the desperate ministers and residents of the Fishmen Island, looked at his subordinates who burst into cheers, and ordered them to tie up Neptune. Since someone still dares to resist. Jack was so cold. Then, he will hang this so-called king and others in the center of the square, and he also wants to see how many guys dare to open Beast's pirates against them. Your Majesty Neptune. Your Majesty Neptune. All the ministers couldn't help exclaiming. Damn. Neptune supported his huge body, looked at the cold Jack the Drow, the knuckles in his palms turned white, and his teeth were clenched. As a king, he couldn't protect his subjects. Neptune couldn't help feeling desperate. If the Fishmen Island falls into the hands of such bastards, Neptune has already guessed the future fate of the Fishmen Island. Okay. Even Neptune showed despair at this moment. Neptune's eyes couldn't help but froze for a moment. Jack the Drow was standing in the main hall at this time, and he stepped forward to stare at the temporary protective wall formed by Neptune's Murloc karate. Jack did not destroy this protective wall. Because he knew that if he wanted to use seawater to form a protective wall of this scale, he would definitely consume a huge amount of physical strength, and this was just a temporary protective wall, so he didn't need to waste his physical strength at all. Advertisement. What's more, now that the king of the Fishmen Island has fallen into his hands, he doesn't believe that the people of the Fishmen Island will watch him execute this old guy. It seems that we can announce the good news to Brother Quinn first. Jack the Drow was thoughtful, and then, Jack felt that the figures he ordered just now were not moving, and his brows could not help but frown slightly. A bunch of trash, isn't it all right? You can't do this little thing well. Jack looked over his shoulder. At the next moment, Jack's body tensed up suddenly. I saw that he sent out to tie up 2 of Neptune's subordinates. Several arms grew out of the subordinates, which were located at their joints, waists, and throats. If they dared to act rashly. Click. The 2 men lost their breath of life in an instant. Jack's pupils froze violently for a moment, and he roared, "Who is it? Get out, lousy." While talking, Jack the Drow looked at his other subordinates, and he suddenly found that most of these subordinates were the same as the 2 subordinates just now. Jack couldn't help being furious instantly. The next moment, with the sound of click, 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 a group of terrified members of the Beast's pirates began to fall. This sudden scene stunned all the ministers of the Fishmen Island, including Neptune. Soon, under Jack the Drow's anger, this streamer-like figure landed on the palace of the Fishmen Island holding a woman. When everyone saw the figure who had arrived here, they were stunned for a moment, and when they recognized the person, even the residents of Mermaid Island shook their hearts violently. It seems that you are having a good time here. Bai Ye glanced at the palace of the Fishmen Island at this time, and his eyes looked at Jack, one of Kaido's 3 disasters, the Emperor's disaster whose nerves have been stretched to the extreme. 108. Jack the Drow, such a good sandbag, is rare. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. How did you? Jack the Drow saw the figure of the man in front of him clearly, his pupils narrowed suddenly, and the nerves and muscles of the whole body tensed subconsciously. Because the devil in front of him, according to Kaido's boss's order, it is absolutely impossible to appear here on the Fishmen Island now. After all, didn't Marine promise to divert the attention of the pirates? To give them time to capture the Fishmen Island. But now the man in front of me will appear here. That is to say, damn it, those damn Marines. Jack thought that Marine had betrayed him, and the veins on his forehead suddenly popped up. Then he looked at his subordinates around him, and looked at Bai Ye angrily. Bastard. Don't be kidding. Just a brat. Watch lousy get rid of you here. With both hands tightly grasping the curved knives that inflicted severe damage on Neptune, Jack the Drow rushed like Bai Ye. Taking a step forward, the floor sank directly in front of the terrifying power, showing Jack's terrifying and strange power. As one of the 3 major signs of Beast's pirates, Jack the Drow is naturally not like ordinary pirates, who can't even raise the courage to fight. What's more, the capture of the Fishmen Island has already reached this point, and this place will soon become their territory for the Beast's pirates. Taking this opportunity, he also wanted to know how useless those Marines were, that even one person couldn't take them down. Brush. Go to hell. The curved double knives slashed at Bai Ye with the fierce light in Jack's eyes, setting off 2 hurricanes, while Neptune hurriedly prepared to remind him. However, the next moment, this scene appeared that shocked many ministers and residents of the Fishmen Island present. Jack the Drow, a big pirate that His Majesty the King couldn't resist, had a sharp curved sickle that was easily caught by that man. Immediately afterwards, Jack the Drow threw a sigh at the injured Neptune with a fierce look in his eyes. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jack the Drow directly used his Devil Fruit ability to transform into a mammoth. Advertisement. However, the sickle thrown out was easily crushed by Bai Ye like scrap iron. Then, Jack the Drow's ancient Devil Fruit ability just turned his entire face into a mammoth, and that's when a big hand was pressed on the head of Jack the Drought. Afterwards, Jack the Drow's pupils shrank sharply, and there was a sound of boom. He only felt a blur in front of his eyes, and his whole head was under the irresistible force, and the Fishman Island Palace floor came a close encounter. Boom. The terrifying power centered on Jack's head and spread out to the surroundings. These deep cracks started from his head and spread out like the surrounding floor. For a moment, everyone felt the entire palace as if there had just been an earthquake. Fear. Hiss. One strike. With just one blow, it actually directly killed that monster. Is that the man known as the strongest demon? The collapse the Fishman Island Royal Palace here, those the Fishman Island ministers and residents saw this scene before them, and couldn't help but feel horrified. Even Neptune, seeing this unspeakable scene, was horrified in his heart. He had fought against Jack the Drow just now, and he was well aware of the terrifying brute force of the opponent, but he did not expect that Bai Ye in front of him was just a blow. Neptune's Jack the Drow, the sentence Bai Ye's back could not help but fell into a deep shock. Such a monster standing at the top of the world is indeed, no matter how many times you watch it from the sound and shadow phone bug, it is far inferior to the kind of horror that makes you feel trembling in person at close range. Caw caw caw. Suddenly, there was a sound of the floor smashing, and Neptune's pupils froze. I saw that Jack the Drow had completely turned into a huge mammoth, with a bloody head that looked extremely hideous, and he stood up forcibly. Jack the Drow shook his severe headache and roared angrily. Bastard. Bastard. You. What are you kidding, lousy? Advertisement. Go to lousy. After fully transforming into a mammoth, Jack ushered in a leap in physical strength and physique. He raised the forelegs of the mammoth, trying to trample Bai Ye to death like an ant. As the big name of the beast's pirates, he actually suffered this humiliation. This is something Jack the Drow will not tolerate. Facing Jack the Drow's attack, Bai Ye did not dodge or evade, but spoke. It seems that your fruit ability should have been awakened, no wonder you can still stand up. Bai Ye noticed that the wound on Jack the Drow's mammoth's head had scabbed over, and he was thoughtful. The awakening of Paramesha and Logia is a power that can change the terrain. If Zone is right, it can strengthen the vitality of terror and improve the physical fitness in most aspects. The blow just now, if Jack hadn't turned his head into a mammoth head, Bai Ye estimated that the blow would have almost made the opponent unable to stand up. That's okay. If he dies like this, my expectations for Kaido will be reduced a lot. Bai Ye thought of Kaido, who should change his name, and said, HMPH. Watch lousy finish you here. Hearing Bai Ye mentioning Kaido, the furious Jack directly used his body to crush him. Jack, who is completely mammoth, weighs more than tens of tons. Coupled with the terrifying brute force, there is no doubt that a single blow can sink a marine warship. This is why Jack got the title of Drought Disaster, the reason why the place he stepped on dries up and decays like a drought, and eventually perishes. Then, this was the moment Jack the Drow came into contact with Bai Ye, and Jack's expression changed drastically. Unexpectedly. Can't press down. Feeling the motionless, terrifying power of a giant dragon that was constantly enlarging in front of him, Jack's pupils changed. He relies on the power of the ancient mammoth fruit, which is what Jack has always been most confident in, and it is also the source of Drought's reputation. Advertisement. It is not an exaggeration to say that he, who has become a mammoth, has an inexplicable confidence even if he is going to intercept Marshal Marine's ship. However, in front of this demon in front of him, Jack suddenly discovered that the thing he was most proud of was completely defeated. A thread of cold sweat rolled down Jack the Drow's mammoth head. Jack couldn't help but yelled inwardly because he couldn't believe it. The strength he crushed was tens of tons in weight alone. How could a mere human being? Afterwards, before Jack the Drow could react, Bai Ye had already grabbed his mammoth's trunk, and then, the mammoth weighing more than tens of tons in front of him was lifted from the ground. No, not good. Jack the Drow's expression changed drastically. Thoughts arose, and in the next second, in the face of an even more terrifying Lee's force that could not be resisted and shaken, he was thrown by Bai Ye and the Green Titan of the Women's Federation like Rocky, with a sound of boom. Together with the hole, the huge mammoth was smashed hard on the palace floor. Of course, Bai Ye didn't use his abilities. After all, such a good sandbag is rare. Boom, boom, boom. Thereafter, the Fishman Island Palace here. Jack, who maintained his mammoth figure, began to intimate contact with the collapsed ground under Bai Ye's feet. Every time they touched each other, the whole palace seemed to be shaken by an earthquake, and Neptune and the palace ministers couldn't help but tremble when they saw it. It should be mentioned here that although Neptune knows Bai Ye, after all, Bai Ye came to the Fishman Island when he occasionally went to supply supplies, but now Neptune can no longer contact the Bai Ye in his impression. Stand up. If possible, Neptune looked at Jack the Drow, who would soon be unable to maintain his mammoth state and turned back into a dying human form. Neptune silently recorded in his heart that he would not be able to joke with Bai Ye in the future. 109. Jack the Drow. Die. Shirahoshi is in trouble. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At this time. Jack the Drow was bathed in blood, like a dead dog with the character, Big, lying here in the palace hall of the Fishman Island, which was full of cracks. Jack the Drow miraculously did not die, but now it is obvious that there is only the breath left, not the breath, the last breath left. But even so, Jack the Drow at Bai Ye's feet, Jack the Drow's pupils are still bloodshot, although his body has long been unable to move, he is full of furious gaze. He stared at Bai Ye with all the strength left in his body and shouted, "Bastard! You bastard who dares to fight us beasts pirates, whether you are a demon or a marine, you will regret it in front of boss Kaido sooner or later." As soon as the words fell, Jack the Drow couldn't help coughing out a big mouthful of blood again under the cold iron mask. Bai Ye thought of Kaido, a ray of golden flame emerged from his fingertips, expecting his tone to turn cold in the end. "I welcome Kaido to take the initiative to find trouble, but it's a pity that you didn't have the chance to see it." "Damn it," Jack the Drow roared with a change of expression. However, due to the serious injuries on his body that would kill an ordinary person, Jack the Drow couldn't dodge the dangerous golden flame at all. A golden ray of flame danced at Bai Ye's fingertips, and then fell toward him. Jack the Drow tried his best to move his body, but under the serious injury, he could only watch the golden flame named death fall on his body. During this process, Jack the Drow felt a shuddering fear for the first time in his life, and his whole body couldn't help trembling faintly. Then, the golden flame quickly engulfed him, Jack the Drow couldn't help screaming, and began to turn into a pool of flame ashes under Bai Ye's feet. In this way, one of the three major signs of beasts pirates. Jack the Drow, dead. Seeing this scene, the ministers and residents of the Fishman Island Palace dared not take a breath. Advertisement. It is really the arrival of this man in front of him, the sense of oppression is too strong. Who would have thought that the monster that put the Fishman Island into crisis and even easily defeated their king Neptune would die so easily? This is fighting. No, this is simply crushing. A monster of that level is actually as weak as an ant in front of this man in front of them. It is conceivable that they subconsciously contacted the Fishman Island that was invaded at this time, and a touch of fear could not help but emerge. If the other side has ideas for the Fishman Island, do they have hope? At this time, Bai Ye threw a few wisps of flames in the same way, turning the corpses of other beasts pirates members here into ashes. Afterwards, Bai Ye felt almost done. He covered the Fishman Island with a population of 5 million with terrifying knowledge. Bai Ye felt the malice flowing in the air from all directions, different areas, streets, squares, etc. from the Fishman Island. That is, the remaining beasts pirates members who were burning, killing and looting outside. Bai Ye then released a more terrifying aura that descended on him in an instant the whole Fishman Island. Buzz! Exclamation mark. A breath of terror, although it was only released for a short moment, made Neptune and the others present almost feel a sense of suffocation, and when they recovered, they couldn't help but gasp. At that moment just now, he seemed to have an illusion that a terrifying giant dragon descended on the Fishman Island with a population of 5 million, and was staring at the Fishman Island coldly, as if a toy, it can be held in Zilong's palm at any time. Subsequently, Bai Ye suddenly looked at Neptune and said with a smile, "It's done, don't forget to buy me some wine from the Fishman Island, Neptune." Neptune was taken aback when he heard the words, and he nodded immediately when he regained his senses. Neptune never expected that Bai Ye would appear here, but the appearance of Bai Ye is tantamount to saving the Fishman Island. Not to mention the Fishman Island, even if he took out the fine wine he has collected for many years and gave it to Bai Ye, it would be completely insignificant in Neptune's eyes. Advertisement. Soon, Neptune understood what Bai Ye meant by, "Get it done," and Neptune couldn't help causing huge waves in his heart, and his scalp tingled. This was followed by news from some residents of the Fishman Island who had no time to evacuate and could only hide first. Just for a moment, all remaining members of the Beasts Pirates throughout the Fishman Island, all, have fallen into a swoon. Out of combat. Conquerors. Die. As the king of the Fishman Island, Neptune naturally has different insights than ordinary people. But it was precisely because of this that Neptune couldn't help but tremble in his heart. You know, the population of the Fishman Island is as high as 5 million, and the area of the entire island is not comparable to some ordinary kingdoms on land. However, the conquerors of the man in front of him was able to cover the entire Mermaid Island, and even imposed on the remnants of beasts pirates all over the streets in various areas of the Fishman Island. Such a terrifying grasp of the conquerors, such a terrifying reach, coupled with a necessarily terrifying knowledgeable color. This is probably difficult even for 4 emperors, right? In other words, Neptune thought of Bai Ye's disappearance for nearly a year, and couldn't help but have an idea in his heart that he couldn't believe. The strength of this man in front of him is stronger than in the past year, maybe he has become stronger. He is stronger than ever before. So powerful, maybe even comparable to a legendary overlord monster many years ago and before One Piece Roger. Rocks. By the way, why didn't you see Shirahoshi? Bai Ye glanced at the Fishman Island Palace here, Midnight couldn't help but smell it. Shirahoshi. In the original book, Shirahoshi was unable to leave the hard-shell tower because of the relationship between the target fruit ability user. But this happened 5 years ago, when Bai Ye came to the Fishman Island for the first time. Bai Ye made a secret agreement with the 10-year-old Shirahoshi, that is, Bai Ye quietly eliminated the target fruit ability Van der Deken X. Advertisement. After all, from the perspective of a traveler, Van der Deken was no different from a pervert who started 3 years ago. In addition, Bai Ye had a good impression of Shirahoshi, so he helped to solve this trouble. Even Neptune didn't know that it was Bai Ye's action. Therefore, in theory, the now 15-year-old Sun Star no longer needs to stay in the hard-shell tower. Bai Ye didn't see Shirahoshi here, so he couldn't help asking. But when Shirahoshi was mentioned, Neptune's expression became solemn, and his face was full of self-blame. The reason is simple. Because the beast's pirates invaded too quickly, these guys were vicious, so in order to protect Shirahoshi, Neptune let Shirahoshi go to Noah to avoid the disaster. At the same time, it is also to avoid the exposure of Sun Shinga's ancient weapon Poseidon. It's ridiculous. As the king and father of the Fishman Island, this old man can't even protect his own daughter. Neptune propped his hands on the broken floor, full of self-blame. Hearing Shirahoshi's whereabouts, Bai Ye was thoughtful. No wonder Shirahoshi's breath was not found on the Fishman Island just now. Ark Noah is located above Mermaid Island, so it can be said that it is separated from Mermaid Island. This is a good hiding place for the Fishman Island's mermaids who have the ability to breathe in the sea. Thinking of this, Bai Ye stretched out his hand and pressed Neptune's thick arm, and the expressions of all the ministers and residents changed. But the next moment, this is Neptune's injury actually started to improve under the faint fluorescent light. This is naturally the healing magic from Tianlong. Subsequently, Bai Ye asked Robin to help take care of the boat he and Robin were on. Immediately, Bai Ye put the color of knowledge on the Ark Noah, and Bai Ye's expression became colder. Shirahoshi is in trouble. 110. Angry Hody Jones. Shirahoshi has someone he likes. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Above the Fishman Island. Ark Noah. Here. Ark Noah is a huge ship that was created by a 800-year-old human Joey and the mermaid princess who was Poseidon, to pull the Fishman Island to the sea. This ship is half the size of the Fishman Island. In addition, it is located in the deep sea above the Fishman Island, so for the mermaids who have the ability to breathe in the sea, it is a very good hiding place to avoid intruders. But at this time, a huge mermaid girl is in trouble here. The girl has long curly pink hair and a taiyaki-shaped hair accessory on her head. The earlobes are a pair of shell-shaped earrings, with bright blue eyes, a beautiful and lovely face, and the fishtail on the lower body is pink in shades and shades. This huge, beautiful and cute mermaid girl is exactly the mermaid princess, Shirahoshi, who lives under the sea, the Fishman Island Dragon Palace Kingdom. Compared with 5 years ago, Shirahoshi's more beautiful and lovely appearance with age has gradually been praised by the world. It is evaluated by the world that even in the face of the Pirate Empress, she will not lose. Now, Princess Shirahoshi, I suggest you give up. Now the Fishman Island is about to be captured by those invaders. There is almost no hope. Why don't you go to sea with us? With your ability, Lousy believes that those damned humans will be surprised. Hey, Princess Shirahoshi, our boss is already calm. As long as you agree, maybe you can save the Fishman Island, or your father and king, if you obey the power given to us by the heavens. On the Ark Noah, these were several Murlocs who took out pills of red poison, their eyes full of fanaticism. If Neptune were here, he would never have dreamed of it. Shirahoshi's troubles come not from the ground, but from the Fishman Island itself. Advertisement. And the group of Murloc pirates on Noah's Ark were Hody Jones and his group who originally planned to capture the Fishman Island 2 years after the Summit War. Originally, Hody Jones and his group planned to recruit the population secretly after they got the medicine, so as to prepare for the capture of the Fishman Island 2 years later. But with the arrival of Jack the Drow, Hody Jones and his group not only did not choose to resist in the face of the irresistible terrorist force, they chose to prepare to escape from the Fishman Island. But before fleeing, someone under Hody Jones had been secretly monitoring the movements of the royal family, so Hody Jones, who had served as a palace soldier, heard that the mermaid princess was actually in the Ark Noah. Hody Jones has a new plan. As a soldier of Dragon Palace City back then, Hody Jones, who obtained the bad medicine with this, was actually not sure about a legend passed down by the royal family of the Fishman Island that he had heard at the beginning. But just 5 years ago, after he came back from a trip and got the news of Van Deken's death, Hody Jones was lucky enough to get a family generation note hidden by Van Deken. It turned out that Van Deken's pervert crazily pursued the mermaid princess who was only 10 years old at the time, in order to take that power enough to shake the world into his hands. Poseidon, one of the 3 ancient weapons. It turned out to be a royal mermaid girl. At the beginning, Hody Jones was very shocked when he heard the news, but because the guards of Dragon Palace City were too cautious, he chose to lurk down and wait for the opportunity slowly. And today, in the Fishman Island's upheaval against the raiders, Hody Jones sees this is what he's always dreamed of, opportunity. The Fishman Island royal family only has one, Poseidon, every 100 years. Take control of the Sea Kings, the power to shake the world. If he could bring this force under his command, Hody Jones immediately realized that the Fishmen Island could be given up. Anyway, the Fishmen Island will be invaded and occupied after today. If he takes this opportunity to obtain the power of one of the 3 ancient weapons, what is the mere the Fishmen Island? Advertisement. His ambition is to use this power to rule all human beings. No, it should be the world. Of course, before that, he also needs to hide one thing. After all, he personally killed Princess Bee back then. If this matter is made public, he doesn't want any problems with the power he has mastered. Shirahoshi looked at the fanatical murlocs in front of him, and Shirahoshi couldn't help but backed away quietly. She was dealing with Hody Jones and his group. Although Shirahoshi has a kind heart, he can also tell right from wrong. The expressions of these murlocs in front of her are not only fanatical, but they also don't have any belonging to the Fishmen Island in their eyes, so she will not choose to believe what these people say. Damn it, don't consume Lousy's patience. Point 0 for flowers. Hody Jones saw Shirahoshi stalking them, and moved quietly to the edge of the Ark Noah. Hody Jones beckoned, and saw that it was a huge shark that was tied up outside the Ark Noah by his men. It is Shirahoshi's pet shark, Mekuro. Hody Jones ordered someone to take out a knife and point it at Mekuro. Seeing that Shirahoshi's expression finally changed, he smiled triumphantly and said, "Princess Shirahoshi, it seems that you finally understand what you are in now. Lousy knows that you are very smart. Dealing with smart people is also what Lousy likes, so." Hody Jones swallowed a pill, and said frantically in his eyes, "Stop thinking about procrastinating, go to sea with Lousy, or, Van Dicken's pervert is not good enough for you, why don't you come and marry Lousy, so Lousy will let this poor shark go, or save your father." 0. Ha ha ha, Princess Shirahoshi, choose. Advertisement. You don't have much time left. The other cadres of Hody Jones couldn't help laughing when they heard this. But immediately, when Shirahoshi heard the word marriage, Shirahoshi gave a confused answer to all the cadres under Hody Jones present, including Hody Jones himself. Shirahoshi already has someone he likes in his heart, so it is impossible to marry Hody Jones. After Shirahoshi summoned up his courage, all the Murloc cadres and Hody Jones himself were dumbfounded. According to the news, no, Shirahoshi is only 15 years old, how could he have someone he likes? Hody Jones came back to his senses and thought that Shirahoshi was playing with him. Looking at the reaction of the surrounding cadres, he couldn't help laughing, and Hody Jones felt that he had lost face. So he gritted his teeth and shouted, "Bastard, since this is the case, whether you agree to go to sea today or not, kill that shark that gets in the way for Lousy." After the words fell, the other Murloc cadres heard the words and issued orders. Shirahoshi couldn't help but look at Hody Jones. However, at this moment Hody Jones was holding a fanatical complacent look. In the next scene, he didn't see the scene where the mermaid princess in front of him finally knew how powerful she was because her pet was killed. Instead, 2 screams sounded, and Hody Jones quickly turned his head to look, his pupils froze suddenly. Here, when will there be an extra human being? 111. Hody Jones' thoughts, escape, otherwise, you will definitely die. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Asterisk asterisk. Damn it, humans. What the hell is going on? Hody Jones stared wide-eyed, he looked at the sudden extra male humans, his eyes were full of caution. When Hody Jones saw his 2 dead subordinates, his expression was a little ugly. Hody Jones is an ambitious guy, but that doesn't mean Hody Jones is a fool. The Mermaid Island below is being invaded by a powerful force, if human beings have a way to come to this Ark Noah. Which means, damn it, is the Fishman Island already taken? Huo Daichong's thoughts turned, and he couldn't help gritting his teeth and clenching his fists. Damn it, if this is the case, then there is not much time left for him. Excuse me, 310, is it Lord Bai Ye? At this time, when Shirahoshi saw the person coming, she was stunned for a while, and then looked at the figure in front of her that gradually overlapped with the memory, a trace of uncertainty appeared in her eyes, and she said excitedly. "Well, I haven't seen you for so long, I didn't expect you to grow so big." Bai Ye turned around and looked at Shirahoshi, who has become a mermaid princess who was as cute and beautiful as Hancock 5 years ago, and smiled. After saying hello to Shirahoshi, Bai Ye subconsciously stretched out his hand to rub Shirahoshi's forehead, but thinking of Shirahoshi's bigger body now than before, Bai Ye gave up this idea first. In addition, Bai Ye looked at Hody Jones and his group, and said, "Let's get rid of this trouble first." Advertisement. 5 years ago, Bai Ye came to the Fishman Island to supply supplies. In fact, it represented Whitebeard, a friend who symbolized making an appearance for the world. The Fishman Island is not a place that other forces can touch. At that time, Bai Ye stayed in the Fishman Island for about half a month, and was fortunate enough to meet Shirahoshi, who was only 10 years old, for the first time. Because of Van Deacon's relationship, Shirahoshi stayed in the hard-shell tower and rarely communicated with the outside world. By chance, Shirahoshi met Bai Ye. Yu Yi also explained some things about the periphery to Yu Xing. Before Bai Ye left, he made a secret agreement with Shirahoshi, which was to solve the trouble of Van Deeken smoothly. At that time, Bai Ye originally thought about getting rid of Hody Jones and his group by the way, but this group was not in Mermaid Island at the time, so they survived by luck. And now, it seems that it is time. Master Bai Ye. Shirahoshi nodded, thinking of the red poison in Hody Jones' hand just now. Shirahoshi couldn't help but warn Bai Ye to be careful. At the same time, Shirahoshi looked at the familiar figure in front of her, and her cute face was also slightly flushed. Did Master Bai Ye hear that just now? At this time, Hody Jones' cadres had already taken up arms and rushed towards Bai Ye. It's just a mere human. Dare to kill my men. Go to hell. Damn despicable human beings. Most of the cadres under Hody Jones are abnormal and extreme. They naturally couldn't bear to see their comrades killed by Bai Ye. When Hody Jones saw this scene, he vaguely felt that Bai Ye, who was somewhat familiar, overlapped with the figure he received from the news nearly a year ago. In the next second, Hody Jones' expression changed dramatically. It's that demon. After discovering Bai Ye's identity, Hojin's forehead burst into cold sweat in an instant. Hody Jones is no fool. Advertisement. He knows that there are monster-level powerhouses among human beings, otherwise Hody Jones would not have learned Shirahoshi's true identity, and he would have the ambition to use this power to rule the world. And at this time, that guy that's here, that human. Undoubtedly, it is one of the worst monsters in the human world. Hody Jones' expression changed drastically. At this time, the cadres under him, Das, Jo, Dharma and other Murlocs had already taken a pill, and rushed towards Bai Ye fiercely. The power of the evil medicine can stimulate the power of a species in a short period of time, but the price is to overdraw the vitality. At the same time, the evil medicine will also give people an illusion of invincible. I saw the hammerhead shark man Das's blue arms with muscles bulging, holding a huge warhammer tightly. He was the one who subdued Shirahoshi's pet, Mekaro, just now, and now a huge warhammer hits Bai Ye. 0. Go to hell. Die before Laozi's mighty force. Mere human. Roar. Das's eyes were red and fierce, and he smashed down with all his strength. There is no doubt that anything will be smashed by him, and the person in front of him was directly smashed into a puddle of flesh. However, a scene that made Das look shocked appeared. His warhammer was actually blocked by this weak human being. Then, the opponent's 5 fingers exerted a little force, and Das saw that his warhammer could not bear the force and shattered. How can that be? Advertisement. Das' face suddenly changed. Immediately afterwards, he heard another scream. It turns out that Jo, who has the ability of invisibility, is going to go around behind Bai Ye, take the opportunity to capture Shirahoshi, and threaten Bai Ye. The idea was good, but it was a pity that Jo had just arrived at Bai Ye's side, and a golden flame had already ignited him. No matter how much Jo struggled, the flames could not be extinguished, and could only be turned into a pool of ashes in the screams. This scene let the hearts of the remaining members of the new Murloc pirates tremble. They subconsciously want to escape. But this area seemed to come alive, and the invisible 2.4 wind hindered them. Then, it was the golden flame that engulfed them, in terror, into ashes. Almost in the blink of an eye, the new Murloc pirates led by Hody Jones were almost wiped out. This horrible scene, Hody Jones couldn't help swallowing his saliva in shock and anger. Now, Hody Jones is absolutely certain. This guy in front of him is definitely a demon. This is not a monster he can deal with now, even if there is a murderous medicine, it is still the same. Hody Jones thought of this, and then, in his crazily running brain, only one thought appeared in Hody Jones' mind. That is, escape. Otherwise, you will definitely die. 112. The new Murloc pirates are destroyed. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Escape. Otherwise you will definitely die. As soon as the heavy thought of death appeared in Hody Jones' mind, it was like a big stone weighing on his heart. Hody Jones looked at the surrounding decks. He was just a subordinate, but now it has turned into puddles of ashes. The next moment, Hody Jones didn't hesitate at all, and immediately ran to the deep sea outside the Ark Noah. Escape. Escape. This monster is not something he can deal with. At the very least, Hody Jones didn't need to fight, he knew that he would never win this battle. Therefore, Hody Jones has no time to care about the so-called mermaid princess at all, and only wants to escape. After all, he still has unfulfilled ambitions and beliefs in revenge. But if he dies here, then all his plans and ambitions will be empty talk. Only alive, he has a chance to rise again. Hody Jones runs very fast. In a blink of an eye, he came to the edge of the deck wall of Ark Noah. Only one step away, he could touch the deep sea outside. Advertisement. Hody Jones had hope in his eyes. Deep sea. He is a Murloc with the power to breathe in the sea. And in the sea, his speed will become faster. More importantly, no matter how strong that demon is, he is still only a mere human. In the sea, but he is the world of the Murlocs. Come on. Come on. Just one step away. Hody Jones' brain was spinning rapidly, watching the distance of 1 meter shortening. Hody Jones' eyes became more and more hopeful. But what comes with it is that the greater the hope, the more terrifying the gap at the moment of falling into despair. As the saying goes, ordinary death is not terrible, what is terrible is that the enemy sees hope in adversity, and they are almost within reach of hope, but in that reachable distance, it has become a distance that can never be touched. Became what overwhelmed all hope, hell. Hody Jones. That's it for now. Just when Hody Jones thought he could escape, once he entered the sea, the golden flame would have nothing to do with him. The deep sea in front of Hody Jones was suddenly engulfed in golden flames. Although Hody Jones tried his best to stop his movements, he still touched the golden flame. The moment he came into contact with the flame, Hody Jones couldn't help screaming. He was rolling on the Ark Noah because of the severe pain. Then, Hody Jones gritted his teeth and forcibly cut off the burning arm, so that he barely escaped the pain from his subordinates. Same fate. Then, Hody Jones couldn't help gasping for breath, and took the medicine to stabilize the wound. Advertisement. He looked at the edge of Noah's ship wall, and Hody Jones' heart fell into an ice cave of despair in an instant. No, no, no. What the hell is going on? Bastard human beings. As far as Hody Jones looked, he saw golden flames in the deep sea. Fire burns in the deep sea. As long as he dares to step out of the Ark Noah. From the arm that has turned into ashes, one can imagine what kind of ending it would be like to escape. Hody Jones thought about the devilish man behind him again. An unspeakable fear that could describe the tide filled Hody Jones' body, and his body couldn't help trembling. The deep sea outside, must die. Stay here and die. Either way, it's death. His hope. At this moment, it has already been announced, and everything is shattered. No, no, no. When Hody Jones saw Bai Ye raised his hand, his pupils shrank suddenly, and he could see the big sweat sliding down his forehead. Then, Hody Jones surprisingly held back and put his other hand on the deck, begging Bai Ye on his knees for mercy. Please, please forgive me, my lord, I can give you whatever you want. I am on the ship of the new Murloc pirates, and I have a lot of wealth in the human world. That's right, that's right, and you're sure you're interested in the mermaid princess in the back, and I have a secret about the Murloc royal family that can be exchanged for my life. Whoever gets her can have the power to shake the world. Strength. Advertisement. Hody Jones begged for mercy, his brain was spinning rapidly, and he was trying to think of all possible ways to survive. By the way, he was also trying to exchange Poseidon's secrets for his own. However, Hody Jones didn't know that Bai Ye didn't need his so-called secret at all. Moreover, Hody Jones's act of secretly grabbing a large handful of poisonous medicine and preparing to eat it could not be hidden from Bai Ye at all. In the original book, 990 Hody Jones is a guy who will reveal his viciousness, cunning, and ambition. In fact, if Hody Jones chooses to resist decisively, Bai Ye may still have a little interest in playing. Only now, regret it. Bai Ye has never left any hidden dangers in his style, not to mention that since it is a trouble, he must solve it thoroughly. And Bai Ye is very clear. Shirahoshi's biological mother, Princess O, actually died at the hands of Hody Jones. Immediately, Bai Ye snapped his fingers. The next moment, Hody Jones' expression changed drastically. Wait, I still have a secret. Ah. Before he could finish speaking, Hody Jones was suddenly engulfed by the golden flames, and he screamed out, and the handful of poison in his hand began to turn into ashes along with the golden flames. Ark Noah. Here. Soon, Hody Jones, together with all the cadres of the new Murloc pirates. Accompanied by a puddle of ashes in front of Bai Ye, announcing the destruction of the entire pirate group. 113. An invisible storm. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Okay, now the trouble that got in the way is gone. Bai Ye looked back at the pool of ashes on No's deck in front of the Ark. Afterwards, Bai Ye looked at Shirahoshi, who had grown into an increasingly lovely mermaid girl in comparison with his memory, and smiled after a long absence. Long time no see, little Shirahoshi. Well, hearing Bai Ye's address, Shirahoshi couldn't help but blush slightly. At that time, because of the relationship between the hard-shell tower, she was full of curiosity about the outside world, so she pestered her only friend to ask a lot about the outside world. Moreover, she was indeed very young at the time. Afterwards, she listened to the familiar address she missed. Shirahoshi showed a happy smile. She nodded vigorously again, stretched out her hand to hold Bai Ye and said hello. Advertisement. Well, it's been a long time, Lord Bai Ye. The Fishmen Island. Dragon Palace City is here. Neptune, as the king of the Fishmen Island, is currently being examined by a group of doctors in Dragon Palace City. Although Neptune believes in Bai Ye, he feels that his injury caused by Jack the Drow has miraculously healed completely. But Neptune could only pat his head on the concern from the ministers and residents of the Fishmen Island around him. As a king, he naturally couldn't refuse. Afterwards, he looked at Robin, who was looking at Dragon Palace City not far away. Neptune knew that Robin might have a close relationship with Bai Ye, so he opened his mouth, but he still pressed his mind to ask Kuyi Qtong. Because if it weren't for Bai Ye's arrival today, the entire the Fishmen Island might not be able to escape the predicament of falling. Due to emotion and reason, the Fishmen Island owes a huge debt of gratitude today. And based on his understanding of Bai Ye back then, Bai Ye would definitely not do anything that would endanger the Fishman Island. Because at the level of that kind of monster, there is no need to do this kind of thing at all, and it doesn't need to be so troublesome. Your Majesty Neptune, what is that human lady? Advertisement. The ministers of Dragon Palace City were relieved to see that Neptune was really fine, and they couldn't help but hesitate to speak. Neptune naturally knew what they wanted to say, shook his head and said, "Don't worry, this human lady is different from those intruder humans, she is here to help us." "I see, Your Majesty." After hearing the words, the ministers let go of the stone hanging in their hearts. It is really too many things happened in the Fishman Island today. First, a strong enemy attacked, trying to seize the entire the Fishman Island, and then His Majesty Neptune was injured in order to protect them. Immediately afterwards, they couldn't believe that that kind of monster was killed by that human male like an ant. What happened in the Fishman Island today, it is no exaggeration to say that they subverted their worldview one after another. Until now, many ministers and residents of the Fishman Island have not really come to their senses. Neptune then looked at the devastation wrought by the Fishman Island on the streets of various towns under the invasion of the Beast's pirates, and Neptune began to issue orders as autonomy. Now that the invasion of the Beast's pirates has been resolved, the first thing to confirm is the current situation of the Fishman Island in various places, and then carry out the Fishman Island's repair, restoration, dispatch of manpower and other work according to the situation. Advertisement. These are the obligations that a king needs to do. And, after this incident, Neptune also faintly felt the storm that was about to start from the land world. In particular, the world government chose to pretend that they had not seen or heard of this incident, which undoubtedly allowed Neptune to establish the authenticity of this incident. Although the Fishman Island is located at a depth of 10,000 meters under the sea, as the ultimate place to go to the New World from all over the world, the situation of the Fishman Island has not been very good, so Yang Putan has been paying attention to the news from the outside world. Originally, Neptune still hesitated, but after experiencing the invasion of the Fishman Island, there is almost no suspense in this matter. Whether it is the outside world, pirates, various kingdoms, marine, Grand Line, Yi Li Chenjiao, or the world government that promotes the development of events, there is an invisible storm that is about to sweep the entire world. At that time, whether it is civilians, marines, pirates, kingdoms, Grand Line, New World, they will not be spared. Thereafter, just when the Fishman Island, Neptune used the phone bug to inform the whole Mermaid Island of a series of events, and when Neptune blamed himself for not protecting the Mermaid Island as a king. Suddenly, a news that was neither good nor bad came to Neptune. Just outside the Fishman Island, there are no members of the 100 Beasts pirates who have logged in. 114. Quinn, Jack the Dro's life card is burned out. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Anyone from the Beast's pirates. When all the ministers of Dragon Palace City heard the news, they couldn't help but feel heavy in their hearts. The main thing is that the threat that the Beast's pirates brought to the Fishman Island was too great, and it was only Jack the Dro that almost made the Fishman Island fall. It is conceivable to hear that there are people from the Beast's pirates outside the Fishman Island. This news has brought pressure on these ministers and residents of the Fishman Island. At the same time, the Fishman Island outside the bubble layer, deep sea. 2 coated Beast's pirates ships are docked here. The manpower here is according to Jack the Dro's order, waiting for another adult to come here. Boss Jack, really, there are so many beautiful mermaids on the Fishman Island, and we just left us here to wait for Sir Quinn. Mermaids, I remember that even the most common slaves are worth tens of millions of Baileys. This time, Master Kaido gave us a fat job. It's just a pity that we didn't have the opportunity to work together with Master Jack, otherwise, with the credit this time, our status in the Beast's pirates will definitely usher in a rise. Okay 503, okay, waiting for Master Quinn is also a good thing. Master Jack should have almost won the Fishman Island by now. Wait for Master Quinn to come, you can get whatever you want, so don't just worry about it those chicks from the Mermaid tribe. Advertisement. Don't forget, our goal this time is to seize the entire the Fishman Island. Wait a minute, this is our Beast's pirates territory, haha. On the 2 pirate ships, members of the Beast's pirates were discussing one after another, and they were already considering how to control the Fishman Island. In their eyes, with Master Jack the Dro's strength, winning the Fishman Island is simply an easy task. And this time their invasion, but Master Kaido had an agreement with the world government in advance. They don't need to worry about any accidents at all, whether it is manpower or time, they are very sufficient. It is worth mentioning that these people did not know the news from the outside world today because they had sailed in the deep sea for a day. Therefore, this also means that when these Beasts pirates were discussing excitedly, they hadn't discovered that the situation on the Fishman Island had turned upside down, DAFB. After all, even they would never have dreamed that Jack the Dro, one of the 3 major signs of the Beast's pirates, would die in a small place like the Fishman Island, that wasn't even the New World. From their point of view, the Fishman Island is already within easy reach this time, and they only need to consider how to manage it after landing later. Soon. After about a few minutes, the Beast's Pirates members waiting here finally saw a few more coated pirate ships in the deep sea far away, and they all couldn't help showing excitement. The reason is simple, the logo on those pirate ships is the ship of their Beast's Pirates. And on the frontmost ship in these sections with the Don Quixote family's pirate ship logo. This is an obese figure sitting in the front, with a mechanically modified prosthesis in his left hand, 2 golden beards on his mouth, biting a cigar, a golden ponytail behind his head, and glasses tied by 2 ropes. There is a tattoo of the word Queen and the Beast's Pirates logo on the right arm, and a bloated and huge fat man wearing black and white suspenders. This man is one of the 3 plagues of the Beast's Pirates, plague, Quinn. Advertisement. At this time, Quinn glanced at the logo of the Don Quixote family on the ship under his feet, a trace of cruelty appeared in his eyes, and he looked at the prosthetic limb in his palm and muttered disdainfully. Doflamingo, it's probably time for you to find out by now. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Since we are cooperating with Beast's Pirates, it would be impolite not to express some sincerity. While muttering, Quinn exhaled a puff of smoke and looked at his subordinates. The subordinates immediately reported that it was the Fishmen Island. Quinn heard that he also saw a light source gradually appearing in the deep sea not far away. This is a huge island wrapped in bubbles that is zooming in his sight. Immediately, when Quinn saw that there were only 2 Beast's Pirates ships outside, Quinn couldn't help being stunned. Where's Jack? He ran to the Doflamingo family to borrow some boats, just to give Doflamingo his coat. After all, pirates have never been good people, and Quinn doesn't care what means are used for anything that is beneficial to Beast's Pirates. However, the matter here on the Fishmen Island is something Kaido's boss has repeatedly told. In addition, the world government has intervened behind him, so Quinn decided to wait for him to arrive before doing anything, but if there are only 2 pirate ships left here. Damn it, Jack has already landed early. Quinn thought of a secret message leaked by a certain CPO of the world government. Quinn frowned and his face sank. And when Quinn's expression sank, soon, the people led by Quinn approached the 2 Beast's Pirates ships. Master Quinn, Master Jack asked us to wait for you here. Seeing Quinn, members of the Beast's Pirates on the 2 pirate ships showed excitement. Advertisement. Lord Quinn's arrival naturally means that they can land on the Fishmen Island. In this way, considering that the Fishmen Island is already under the control of Lord Jack the Drow, it is the most perfect timing for them to land now. Damn it, it really is like this. Quinn had expected it a long time ago, and his face sank again after hearing these people's reports. The things here have been specially ordered by the Kaido boss, and he doesn't want any accidents. Immediately, Quinn ordered people to prepare to start landing on the Fishmen Island, and began to issue a series of requirements to take over the Fishmen Island and so on. However, at this moment, a terrified subordinate ran over from behind. Master Quinn. No, it's not good. The Beast's Pirates pirate who followed Quinn looked terrified, ran to Quinn, and accidentally tripped over the deck because of the fear of inner war. He raised his head and looked at Quinn's obese and huge body that obscured the light. The sweat visible to the naked eye slid down his forehead, and he began to stutter when he spoke. Tell me slowly, what happened? Quinn exhaled a puff of cigar smoke, and seeing his men so terrified, a bad premonition faintly rose in his heart. Really? The next moment, this subordinate was in great fear, stumbled and uttered the bad news that silenced the pirate fleet led by Quinn and the 2 pirate ships waiting for Quinn to arrive. Just now, he found that Master Jack the Drow's life card, burnt out. 115. Horrified Quinn, the blame man, Doflamingo. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Life card. This is a special paper unique to New World that is not afraid of fire or water. It is usually made by mixing one's own nails into special materials. It is a kind of paper representing the vitality of the owner. Usually, people will tear him up and give them to relatives or friends who are about to separate. The torn pieces of paper will attract each other, and Quinn usually relies on this method to distinguish the positions of the subordinates who perform tasks. It is a very convenient thing. But in addition, life has a special ability. That is, the life card will shrink when the owner is weak, and will return to its original size when the owner recovers, so that the health of the owner of the life card can be judged. Think right, if the life card slowly turns into ashes, it means that the owner is not far from death. And Jack the Drow's life card has burned out. This certainly means that, almost instantly, the expressions of the Beast's Pirates members present all changed. The pupils couldn't help but widen, the mouth opened, and the eyes shone with unbelievable horror. That's Lord Jack the Drow. Beast's Pirates is the highest 3 disasters, one of Kaido-sama's most trusted subordinates. If the life card is exhausted, doesn't it mean that Mr. Jack the Drow is dead? Died on the Fishmen Island this. A chilling thought arose, and all the Beast's Pirates present looked in the direction of the Fishmen Island, couldn't help swallowing their saliva, and a touch of fear rose from their hearts. Advertisement. Master Jack the Drow is dead. Especially for the members of the Beast's Pirates on the 2 remaining pirate ships, they all showed unbelievable horror. They all watched Master Jack land on the Fishmen Island. Master Jack the Drow, as one of the 3 major signs of the Beast's Pirates, and the confidant of Master Kaido, how could he die in a mere the Fishmen Island? You know, this is not even New World. Some of Jack the Dro's men couldn't believe it, and hurried to the room on the ship to get Jack the Dro's life card. When the box was opened, they could not believe a horrible fact. Inside the box, there was supposed to be a life card, but now it is completely reduced to ashes. All of this means that Jack is dead. And he just died in the Fishman Island, a small place that they didn't even pay attention to. Immediately, all the beast's pirates were horrified and couldn't help but look at the ship that they felt a terrifying sense of oppression from just now. Looking up one after another, they saw that this oppressive aura gradually came from Quinn, whose face was completely darkened. Damn, what the hell happened on the Fishman Island? Quinn clenched his 5 fingers tightly, and the modified mechanical prosthesis rubbed sparks, and a pair of eyes were staring at the Fishman Island. Jack the Dro died. This is no small matter. Not to mention that Jack would be compromising the loss of their beast's pirates in this small place. Advertisement. The most important thing is that once this matter gets out, the influence of their beast's pirates in New World is bound to be affected as well. After all, the dignified 3 signs, one of the top 3 disaster cadres, not only did not occupy the Fishman Island when they came prepared, but also left it here. No matter what happened on the Fishman Island, once other forces and other sea emperors know about this matter, it is almost impossible not to be ridiculed by taking the opportunity. Not to mention that Kaido-sama has specifically instructed things here. Jack, that bloody bastard. Quinn could already imagine the scene where the Kaido boss would be furious when he found out about this. Afterwards, Quinn considered Kaido's boss's advice, as well as a secret message from World Government CPO not long ago. Quinn gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, although at this moment he was within reach of the Fishman Island. But Quinn knew that something must have happened on the Fishman Island beyond their beast's pirates' control. If he acts rashly now, in case any accident happens again. Quinn is not a brainless brash like Jack the Dro. As he likes to develop various chemicals and has won the title of Plague, Quinn has a cautious attitude that does not match his appearance. Even though he has an open and cruel personality, likes to change his ways to execute the enemy, and does things superficially, but if he is not sure enough, Quinn will never take risks. Not to mention, they, the Beast's Pirates and the BIGMOM Pirates, are planning something big. At this juncture, Quinn doesn't want to take the risk of following Jack the Dro. Ask for flowers, oh. Immediately, Jack the Dro suppressed the anger and gloom in his heart, and he ordered his men to throw all the boats with Don Quixote family outside the Fishman Island. Since the mission of Jack the Dro has failed, the news here cannot be passed on. At this time, it is naturally best to find a scapegoat. Advertisement. After all, hadn't the Don Quixote family been sitting in the dark about the slave and arms business? Quinn really couldn't think of a better blame man than this one. In this way, the eyes of the world will only pay attention to the Don Quixote family, that is, Doflamingo, and ignore the Beast's Pirates. With the news transmission speed of the Fishman Island, Quinn is not worried at all that this matter will be revealed. World government fights inside. It can be said that Quinn has already thought of an excuse. And because of the cooperation news between Doflamingo and their Beast's Pirates, even if Doflamingo knows that he has suffered a disadvantage, he must not dare to say that the Fishman Island was done by Beast's Pirates. In this way, all traces are temporarily erased. Afterwards, Quinn thought through a series of plans, and after having no scruples about taking Doflamingo as the blame, Quinn ordered people to start erasing the traces of their being here. After all this is done, I have to say that Quinn is indeed more considerate than Jack the Dro. If not, Duo would not have sent him to participate in this operation. Subsequently, just when Quinn was almost done, a subordinate next to him brought Quinn a telescope, and the eyes of this Beast's Pirates member were full of horror. What happened again? Quinn was in an extremely bad mood right now. Seeing the panic of his subordinates, Quinn immediately grabbed the binoculars and looked in the direction. In the next moment, when he saw clearly the reason for his fright, Quinn's eyes directly shattered the lens of the telescope, and even Quinn's obese figure jumped up instantly. This is, hey, it's the guy Kaido's boss is afraid of. Damn, why did this guy appear here? 0116. Quinn, hey. No kidding. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The moment Quinn saw the figure in the telescope, his obese figure couldn't help jumping up from his sitting position, his eyes smashed the goggles, and his mouth was full of disbelief. No wonder Quinn was so terrified. After all, their real purpose of seizing the Fishman Island is to cut off the connection between this place and the whole world. It can be said that as long as they control the territory of the Fishman Island, it is equivalent to cutting off all the routes of the 4 seas in the first half of the Grand Line to the New World, unless someone desperately wants to enter the Red Line under the control of the world government. Therefore, the Fishman Island is a very special place here. Most importantly, they dispatched so many people to occupy the Fishman Island, and Quinn knew the real purpose behind it. But if this demon has already appeared on the September 13th island, then why did Jack the Dro die in a small place like the Fishman Island? The things here made sense at once. It's even very possible. Damn it, there is a high probability that Jack's other men on the Fishman Island have all been wiped out, right? Quinn clasped his palms tightly, A trace of cold sweat could not help but appear on his forehead, and the modified prosthesis symbolically reached out and wiped it. He is not an idiot like Jack, who only knows how to deal with enemies who dare to resist the beast's pirates. Quinn knows that there are still many monsters in this world that he cannot deal with. For example, the scary old woman Charlotte Linlin he met in the front end, and Whitebeard and others outside their territory. At this moment, Quinn could be sure that the demon he saw now was no different from one of the guys he could never deal with. Even if he stayed, he would die in vain. Thinking of this, Quinn wiped the cold sweat from his brow, and immediately gave the order to retreat. Damn it, the situation here is extremely bad. Advertisement. It seems that we can only leave here now, and then report the matter here to Boss Kaido. Quinn thought quickly, glanced out of the corner of the eye and ordered someone to drop the boat with the Don Quixote family logo outside the Fishmen Island, and Quinn breathed a sigh of relief. Although I don't know how that demon came to the Fishmen Island. But with these Don Quixote family ships, to the outside world, this place is Doflamingo's pot, and has nothing to do with their beasts' pirates. This is the only good news. Immediately, Quinn breathed a sigh of relief. Quinn looked again with a new telescope, and Quinn was suddenly stunned. Wait, he was too nervous just now because he discovered the demon, so he ignored other places. That giant beautiful mermaid, could it be the royal family on the Fishmen Island? Quinn couldn't help but think of a request from the world government. That is, the royal family on the Fishmen Island cannot be easily touched. Thinking of this, Quinn couldn't understand what kind of tricks the world government was playing. But Quinn didn't have time to think about it. The next moment, Quinn looked at the original figure of Bai Ye again. Afterwards, Quinn felt that the hairs all over his body were about to stand on end. Advertisement. Simple, that demon looked at him, as if he had spotted them. Quinn's expression changed dramatically. Are you kidding me? Get lousy back, Quinn shouted immediately. After all, you have to know that they are in the deep sea outside the bubble layer of the Fishmen Island. If the other party finds them, how terrifying would it take to do it? Once this kind of monster targets them, it will definitely be a big trouble. At the same time, on the Fishmen Island, Master Bai Ye. When Shirahoshi was about to return to Dragon Palace, she saw Lord Bai Ye suddenly looking in the distance, and Shirahoshi couldn't help but follow him. But she saw only a place far away from the Fishmen Island, and she could only be sure that the place was the bubble layer outside the Fishmen Island, so Shirahoshi couldn't help showing a trace of doubt in his eyes. Bai Ye shook his head and smiled, it's just a bunch of little bugs. Small bug, Bai Ye looked at the already arrived Dragon Palace City, and said with a smile, I still have something to do, you should go back to Dragon Palace City to meet your father, and there is another sister, I think you will get along well. Shirahoshi nodded when she heard the word father, and immediately, she couldn't help but look in the direction just now, and said, Master Bai Ye, please be careful. Obviously, Shirahoshi already understood the meaning of little bug, so she couldn't help exhorting. Bai Ye looked at Shirahoshi, who was still kind-hearted compared to the Shirahoshi at the time, smiled lightly and nodded. Subsequently, advertisement. Bai Ye looked outside the bubble layer of the Fishmen Island, and a trace of electric arc appeared on Bai Ye's body. Since there are little bugs, it should be solved by the way. The Fishmen Island, outside the bubble layer. Quick, get lousy back. After Quinn found out that the demon really found him, Quinn's expression changed drastically, his heart was full of panic, and the orders he gave were also shouted out. After all, what a joke, this is the deep sea, outside the bubble layer of the Fishmen Island. If the demon can spot them from half a distance across the Fishmen Island, how can he have any hope of winning once this kind of monster targets him? Jack the Drow has already broken down here, he doesn't want to die in this small place, too. After Quinn gave the order, the Beast's pirates fleet he led immediately mobilized. Although some people thought that Mrs. Quinn was making a fuss, no one dared to refute Quinn's order. 1.2 Most members of Beast's pirates are man-made demon fruit power, so even if they are man-made devil fruit, their strength is far beyond that of ordinary humans. Almost within a short time, the boat under Quinn's feet began to move away from the Fishmen Island according to the order. Seeing this scene, Quinn was also immediately relieved. This is the deep sea, as long as they continue to move forward, even if the demon finds them, it is absolutely impossible to chase them. After all, here is a deep. Quinn just wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, and then, Quinn noticed a flash of lightning flashing outside the bubble layer of the Mermaid Island behind him, and Quinn's eyes shattered the new goggles, almost jumping out of their sockets. Hey, don't take such a joke. 117. Voice of the Sea Kings, becoming another king. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The Fishmen Island outside the bubble layer. This is a golden thunder rushing towards their position from the direction of the Fishmen Island. Quinn thought with his toes, and knew that this was definitely not a good thing. Immediately, Quinn turned his head, and he found that it was a figure in the deep sea, stopping in front of Quinn's Beast's Pirates fleet. Where the figure was, Quinn couldn't help but widen his eyes. As far as he could see, the seawater around Bai Ye actually separated actively, and he could move freely in the deep sea even though he didn't have a coating. Afterwards, Quinn saw Bai Ye in the deep sea, and the moment Bai Ye raised his hand, Quinn's entire expression sank completely with the panic in his heart. He knows. This time, I really ran into big trouble. Subsequently, in the deep sea outside Mermaid Island, 2 waves of Uzumaki suddenly set off. Quinn, one of the 3 major signs of Beast's Pirates, I didn't expect that the Fishman Island is so worthy of your Beast's Pirates' attention. Bai Ye glanced at the fleet engulfed by Uzumaki with a calm expression. If someone in Quinn can survive this time, Bai Ye doesn't mind asking these people to help with a message. New world, he's coming back. But if he just died like this, it can only be said that the other party's luck is not very good. 30. Immediately, Bai Ye seemed to have done a trivial thing. Bai Ye looked in the direction of the Fishman Island. Standing outside the bubble layer of the Fishman Island at this time, I have to say that the Fishman Island is indeed a place with beautiful scenery, obviously located in a place 10,000 meters deep in the sea. But just like the outside world has day and night changes, coral hills, ports, and various streets have everything that one expects to find. Coupled with the unique mermaid and murloc tribes here, it is indeed one of the few good places in the world. Whitebeard, you owe me a favor. Advertisement. Bai Ye noticed that there was a flag of the Whitebeard Pirates on the Fishman Island, and Bai Ye rubbed his forehead. Although the Beast's Pirates came to seize the Fishman Island to target him, it was still a place that Whitebeard was supposed to protect in name, so Whitebeard owed him a favor from his friend. Subsequently, when Bai Ye approached the Fishman Island, an illusion figure appeared beside Day and Night. The figure is a woman who is gradually taking shape. It is by using the flower fruit ability that Robin can be created that is no different from himself. Robin said. The Fishman Island found one of the Shichibukai, Doflamingo's ship, are there any more? Doflamingo. When Bai Ye heard this, he released the color of knowledge, and Bai Ye saw the boat with the Don Quixote family that Quinn had left behind. Bai Ye lowered his head thoughtfully, then the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Doflamingo although I don't know if this guy is involved, Quinn gave him a good reason. After all, it will stop you from courting death. You should have met Shirahoshi, right? Bai Ye turned to look at Robin, who is currently Avatar. Robin nodded. Well, she is a very nice girl. Very good. Bai Ye heard Robin's tone, and he always felt that there was something in it. Robin continued to smile curiously and said, because I don't seem to have heard that you know the Mermaid Princess from the Fishman Island, and the Mermaid Princess seems to have a very close relationship with you. As the voice fell, Robin noticed that Bai Ye seemed to have known about the Don Quixote family, so she stopped maintaining her avatar and quickly disappeared here. Bai Ye looked helplessly at Robin, who disappeared after speaking. If you want to ask what it feels like to have a woman with a black belly occasionally, it is undoubtedly the feeling now. This kind of talking and running away halfway, wanting it but not giving it, sometimes it's like a cat tickling your heart, it's really a little uncomfortable. However, thinking that Robin was able to use the flower fruit ability to maintain a clone that is exactly the same as the main body, Bai Ye remembered that this ability was only available 2 years after the original book. Advertisement. V=_= I just don't know if this ability is completely synchronously felt. Immediately, Bai Ye is going back to the Fishman Island. But at this moment, a voice came into Bai Ye's mind. Hello. This voice sounded, and Bai Ye let go of his knowledge and looked around, and then Bai Ye's expression moved slightly. This voice. Bai Ye raised his head and followed the color of knowledge, and as far as he could see, it turned out to be a supergiant sea pressure type with a body size of several thousand meters. These are more than a dozen supergiant sea kings whose body size exceeds several kilometers. Right now, they are staring at Bai Ye. And Bai Ye can be sure that the voice just now is the voice of one of the Sea Kings. But Bai Ye didn't panic just because he heard the voice of Sea Kings. If he remembered correctly, Roger had heard the voice of the Sea Kings in the original book. Moreover, not all Sea Kings only know the existence of destruction. Some special Sea Kings have a very long lifespan. For these Sea Kings, it seems unbelievable to learn to communicate in a long time, but it is actually not difficult. Because one of the 3 ancient weapons, Poseidon, refers to Shirahoshi's ability to communicate with Sea Kings. Moreover, the huge Ark Noah above the Fishman Island actually built its true face, which was the super large ship that the human Joey and the Mermaid Princess planned to build on the premise of Sea Kings. Interesting. Bai Ye looked at those super giant Sea Kings with a size of thousands of meters, and he became interested. Communication with Sea Kings, this is a rare thing. Looking at the Fishman Island, Bai Ye considered that it would not take much time. Afterwards, he came to the gathering point of the dozen or so Sea Kings. Advertisement. I have to say that with his size and the huge ancient Sea Kings that are thousands of meters in front of him, it is really small to describe the ant. However, none of the Sea Kings present dared to take a peek at Bai Ye, a human being who can move freely in the sea. In the same way, Bai Ye also showed a little surprise when he noticed the power contained in these Sea Kings. The aura of these Sea Kings is not lost to the Quasi-Admiral, and there may be 2 or 3 owners whose ability is comparable to that of the Marine Admiral. Immediately, Bai Ye understood what was going on. Although the entire outside world is controlled by the world government, it is recognized in the world that the world government is the strongest force. But after all, the world government controls only the world on land. Although there are many races ranked on land 827, among them the Titan race is the first, but this premise ignores the Sea Kings. In the eyes of the general world, the Sea Kings are beasts that only know destruction, and no one would think that they could compete with them. Poseidon communication. Therefore, if someone can communicate with and control the Sea Kings, then the number one race in this world definitely belongs to the Sea Kings all over the world, the Grand Line, and the New World. It is precisely for this reason that Poseidon is known as one of the three ancient taboo weapons. After all, the lifespan of the Sea Kings race should have surpassed that of the Titans. In the long years, plus various unknown areas in the deep sea. Bai Ye thought of a sentence: even a pig, after such a long time of baptism, can definitely grow into a terrifying combat power. Not to mention that Sea Kings also has a huge size blessing. Of course, it has to be said that the combat power system in this world is actually very strong. With life like Sea Kings, it is a miracle in itself that humans can still dominate the terrestrial world, not to mention that the world government has been established for 800 years and has not wavered. From this point of view, there will be at least one ancient weapon in the territory of the world government that is not inferior to Poseidon. Poseidon's power is a guarantee. Bai Ye thought of many things during the short time he had been in contact with these Sea Kings. Subsequently, Bai Ye found that he could really understand the communication of these Sea Kings. And the purpose of these Sea Kings looking for him is very simple. They hope that Bai Ye will become another one of the prophecies of the reunion of the two kings that has been passed down for 800 years in the Fishman Island, the king. 118. The prophecy of the twin kings, communicating with the Sea Kings. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The Fishman Island, the twin kings who will meet again one day. This is the oldest prophecy of the Fishman Island handed down from 800 years ago. Double king. One king refers to the mermaid princess who was the ancient weapon Sea King's Poseidon at that time, and the other king refers to the human Joey at that time. The two kings made a vow at the beginning to move the Fishman Island to land. 800 years later, Noah's Ark above the Fishman Island was built based on this. After all, such a ship, which is half the size of the Fishman Island, has no power to move except Sea Kings. Certainly, 800 years have passed since then. Now a king, Bai Ye is the time traveler, he can be sure that the prophecy refers to Shirahoshi. And, if these Sea Kings know the prophecy of the Fishman Island, they will wait here. Doesn't it mean that the age of these oldest Sea Kings has reached an average of 800 years? Thoughtful, Bai Ye immediately raised his head and said. Can something like Wang still be entrusted? Bai Ye didn't know who the other king that Roger predicted in the original book was, but these Sea Kings would take the initiative to find him, which aroused Bai Ye's interest. Then, it was an ancient Sea King shaped like a black Madara horse. Bai Ye remembered that Shirahoshi appeared in the original book because of his crying when he was a child. This Sea Kings conveys the meaning that Bai Ye can understand. Although our king was born 15 years ago, she has not yet grasped the ability to perfectly control herself, so we need to seek the help of another king. Another king. So you found me. Bai Ye looked at these ancient Sea Kings and said. Well, and more than that. The other Sea Kings, whose head was a giant brown frog, continued to make meanings that Bai Ye could understand. Advertisement. You are human, but you don't feel completely human to us. There seems to be something hidden in you that human beings cannot possess. It seems to be suppressed by blood. Even we can faintly feel it, so, compared to the human beings outside, we believe that you can become another king in the prophecy. After the words fell, all the Sea Kings looked at Bai Ye. When Bai Ye heard this, his eyes flickered with surprise. Being human, it doesn't feel completely human to them. Well, considering the terrifying physique brought by dragon-slaying magic, and the ability to turn into a dragon can be activated on the premise of dragon power. In a sense, no dragon slayer magic practitioners are pure human beings. Moreover, the creature, dragon, itself stands at the highest point of all life and the apex of the pyramid, which is one of the reasons why Bai Ye's conquerors are far stronger than ordinary conquerors. But what surprised Bai Ye was that the group of Sea Kings were the first to notice this. Immediately, Bai Ye looked at these oldest Sea Kings. Bai Ye suddenly found that he had fallen into a misunderstanding because of these Sea Kings. The so-called the Fishman Island prophecy, or the plot in the original book. In fact, from the moment he came into this world, everything has changed. And prophecy, the meaning only represents the future that has not appeared. But for this moment, the so-called future is actually just a thought, whether it is the prophecy 800 years ago, or the prophecy in the original book that Roger came to the Fishman Island. A prophecy that never happened is just a prophecy after all. What really determines the future is still at this moment. Advertisement. Thereafter, when Bai Ye returned to the Fishman Island. At this time, the Fishman Island has already started the emergency repairs, treatment and other related matters under the order of Neptune. Although the Fishman Island was invaded by the beast's pirates, it was able to adjust in such a short time. It can be seen that Neptune is indeed a qualified king. At this time, Bai Ye released knowledge color to cover the Fishman Island. Bai Ye discovered that Robin was actually reading the historical text on the Fishmen Island. It's really one of the things she likes to do as an academic. The Fishmen Island, the forest of the sea. This place is located in the seabed forest in the northeast of Murloc Street. Because many shipwrecks in the sea are transported here along the tide, it is also known as the ship cemetery. In addition, because many beautiful corals grow here, fish and whales will also forage here. At the same time, at the end of this place, there is also a historical text that records the apology related to Joey Boye 800 years ago. At this time, a huge historical text front. Standing here is the figure of Robin. She reached out and touched the words full of years in front of her eyes. As Shikai read, Robin's eyes gradually began to show surprise and rhythm. Because this historical text is not a record about the end of the Grand Line, most of the above content is a text of apology left by a human named Joey Boy, which tells that this human did not fulfill the agreement with the mermaid princess at that time, thus leaving the apology text. Then, it was the reason why Robin's heart vibrated. Because the text of the history of apology also records a secret about the royal family of the Fishmen Island, that is, the true identity of Poseidon. Advertisement. One of the three ancient weapons that claim to have the power to destroy the world, Poseidon is actually a mermaid. Moreover, the royal family on the Mermaid Island will have a special mermaid princess who will inherit this area of power every 100 years. When Robin saw this, with her wisdom, Robin subconsciously thought of Shirahoshi. Immediately, she couldn't help but look slightly gloomy. She has already realized that if this secret gets out, or even if the content is known to the outside world, it will bring about a huge shock to the Fishmen Island. Backquote: is there anything interesting written on it? On the side, a curious voice sounded. It was Shirahoshi who stretched out his palm and held it on his chest. Neptune has now heard what happened on the Ark Noah, so Neptune ordered people to search for all hidden dangers on the Fishmen Island, so Robin is currently accompanied by Shirahoshi in his actions on the Fishmen Island. Along with it, there is also a minister of Dragon Palace City, Minister Zuo. Luo Qian Wang Zhao Bin noticed that the left minister couldn't help but look at her. She sat on Shirahoshi's palm, smiled and nodded and said, "Well, it records the story of a mermaid princess and a human being on the Fishmen Island 800 years ago, which is very interesting. The story of the mermaid princess and humans." Shirahoshi looked curiously at the text of the history. But unfortunately, she couldn't understand the above text, so she had to ask Robin. Afterwards, Robin also patiently explained the history recorded above to Shirahoshi. Of course, Robin automatically omitted the things about Poseidon's true identity. Because Robin knows that once this secret is spread to the outside world, what a huge shock Mermaid Island will cause. Then, when Robin thought of Bai Ye, she felt an inexplicable expectation and a feeling like a kitten tickling. She was curious about how many secret toilets there were on this man. After all, she has never heard of the mermaid princess in front of her. 119. Let Shirahoshi go to the country of daughters. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Bai Ye noticed that Robin was deciphering the historical text on the Fishmen Island to Shirahoshi. Bai Ye withdrew his knowledge, and he came to Dragon Palace City. The first thing is the ancient prophecy about the Fishmen Island that the two kings will meet again one day. Those giant sea kings ask him to be another king in the prophecy. Its purpose is also to protect the mermaid princess Shirahoshi, who has not fully mastered the power of Poseidon. But because Bai Ye is planning to go back to the New World, and because the Beast's pirates seized the Fishmen Island this time, there is a shadow of the world government behind it. Bai Ye plans to let Shirahoshi go to the Amazon Lily first, that is, the Empress, the daughter country where Hancock lives. Hancock's daughter country is located in Calm Belt. After the incident the day before yesterday, Marine should not make any moves for the time being. This is a good place. And, this incident actually fulfilled one of Shirahoshi's original wishes, that is, Shirahoshi has always dreamed of witnessing the world outside the Fishmen Island with his own eyes. 950 is based on this consideration. Bai Ye and Neptune, who chose to believe, had a brief conversation about what only the two of them knew. Subsequently, Bai Ye took out a phone bug to contact Nine Snake Island. Advertisement. This is the phone bug that Bai Ye brought with him when he was practicing in Daughter's country. Now after leaving Nine Snake Island, the phone bug is naturally still on him. And in a sense, whether it's the request of my mother-in-law or the relationship between him and Hancock, Amazon Lily is actually a subsidiary territory under his name. Master Bai Ye, have you arrived in New World yet? Amazon Lily, daughter country. In the royal palace above Nine Snakes Island, it was Granny Yi who received the call, and Grandma Z asked. Hearing that it was Granny Yi, Bai Ye was quite relieved about this, one of the few wise men. At the same time, in Bai Ye's view, this is also one of the few people who can reveal Shirahoshi's true identity except for Hancock. Thereafter, the mermaid princess of the Fishmen Island. When Granny Yi heard Bai Ye's request, she opened her mouth wide, and at the same time, Granny Z's expression showed a trace of solemnity. The royal family on the Fishmen Island. Behind it is the intervention of the world government. The mother-in-law couldn't help but think that it must not be that simple behind this matter. She lowered her head and and said in response, "Please rest assured to leave this matter to the old man. I will notify Master Shiji and go to the Fishman Island together." "Well, that's going to be a tough trip. It's nothing that can help you." Advertisement. Granny Z was talking, but at this moment, Granny Z did not look at Bai Ye, but made a gesture of kneeling on one knee. Just like Granny Yi, out of respect for the current empress, she usually lives in the village. Her actions at this time represent her respect for Bai Ye because she will abide by the agreement. Then, after Grandma Za received the order from Bai Ye, Grandma Za called the warriors protecting the country from Nine Snake Island, and she immediately prepared to go to the Fishman Island with the empress. Afterwards, Granny Z looked to a direction behind the Daughter King's palace, where the emperors of Daughter Country Island practiced. But since Snake Ji ascended the throne as the emperor of the Daughter Country, she seldom went there again. Now this scene is very rare. Is it really because of that lord? The mother-in-law couldn't help but sigh. Now the world is about to undergo great changes, and with Shiji's previous personality, she would take the initiative to go there, but it is a rare thing. Subsequently, the Fishman Island is here. After Bai Ye notified Daughter Country, considering that Amazon Lily itself is located on the calm belt in the first half of the Grand Line, it only takes about half a day to reach the Fishman Island. Bai Ye took advantage of this time to replenish the special wines of the Fishman Island. After all, after a year, the wine on his boat has almost been consumed. Moreover, the Fishman Island is the only way for the first half of the Grand Line and the Four Seas to go to the New World. Advertisement. To give the simplest example, the exclusive entertainment facilities on the Fishman Island not only include various bars, but also the well-known Mermaid Cafe, and so on. The various crafts of the Fishman Island do not need to be much different from the outside world. This can be seen from the new dessert processing factory in the original book, and the desserts produced there are even more delicious than meat. Madara. Then, perhaps because of Bai Ye's better luck, although the Beast's pirates wreaked havoc on many places on the Fishman Island, the entertainment streets and facilities on the Fishman Island were not affected too much. Coupled with the fact that Neptune brought out a lot of fine wines from the royal family's collection, Bai Ye actually thinks that he should come to the Fishman Island earlier. By the way, he can also clean up the wine for Whitebeard. In fact, thinking about it, it seems good that Whitebeard will let you experience the feeling of not drinking. But having said that, it should be almost the same now, right? Bai Ye saw that Neptune ordered the soldiers of Dragon Palace City to carry fine wine to his ship. Bai Ye released his knowledgeable color while paying attention to Robin and Shirahoshi, while he glanced outside the bubble layer of the Fishman Island. The direction is New World. What's happening here is that due to the special location of the Fishman Island, the speed of message transmission is actually not fast. However, considering that Kaido may have some knowledge of his subordinate's shortcomings, if so, Kaido should have almost received a gift from here. Certainly, not so much a gift. In Bai Ye's view, it's just the level of the three disasters, at most it's a pre-dinner fruit. After witnessing the terrifying life force of Jack the Drow, Bai Ye now has some expectations for Kaido, this fake bug, that should be renamed. 120. Kaido from Cake Island and Big Mom fight each other to test their strengths. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. At the same time. New World. IWC. Cake Island. Located in front of this fantasy island composed entirely of desserts. Here are the Beast's Pirates ships docked off Cake Island. On the largest ship, the Beast's Pirates, stood a figure that looked like a demon king descended into the world. He raised his head, and his burly body exuded an aura that made the surrounding fleet and Cake Island feel oppressive. This figure was holding a Kaido of the mace. Is this the Cake Island where Wangwo, Big Mom is located? Boss Kaido will take the initiative to enter the Alliance's territory. Hiss. Keep your voice down, the BIGMDM pirates are here. What are you discussing? On the territory of the Alliance, it is not a good thing to discuss friendly forces. On a Beast's Pirates ship, Peggy Wan, one of the 6 volleys, glanced coldly at his men. Afterwards, Peggy Wan saw figures appearing on Cake Island who were not inferior to Master Kaido at all, and Peggy Wan's expression sank. That's Big Mom. Although the Beast's Pirates and Big Mom Pirates formed an alliance, most of the time the two parties acted separately, and the only time the alliance was made was when Big Mom took the initiative to come to Ghost Island. It is almost impossible for Master Kaido to come to Cake Island in person at this time. Then Peggy Wan felt something was wrong with the atmosphere. He suddenly raised his head to look at the sky, his pupils froze. I don't know when it started to change color. Lin, you are finally willing to come out of your castle, woo la la la. At the port of Cake Island, Kaido lifted the mace with one hand and clenched it tightly. When he saw Big Mom leading the children with serious expressions appear, he greeted with a roar. Kaji beside Charlotte Linlin and Perospero's sons and daughters also sank. Advertisement. They stared at the pirate ships in front of the sea area of the Cake Island port, and visually inspected the pirate ships that occupied almost the entire sea surface. Even they couldn't help but feel the pressure. After all, this is the meeting of 2 emperors of the sea, and Kaido personally came to the core area of all nations, Cake Island, of their Big Mom pirates. Unexpectedly, at this moment, amidst a change in the expressions of both parties, Charlotte Linlin stepped towards Kaido. The ant showed a fierce look in her eyes, and stretched out her hand to hold the hat on her head in the palm of her hand. Napoleon. Yes, Mom, are you going to fight? The pink hat Napoleon turned into a machete with a face, showing excitement. Big Mom continued. Prometheus. Yes, Mom. A group of friendly cartoon sons following Big Mom turned into flames, and immediately chose to attach themselves to Napoleon. Then, a terrifying atmosphere spread in Cake Island. At this moment, after Kaido leapt and slammed the King Cake Island heavily with a boom. Whether it's the Card 2 side or the Beast's Pirates side, they couldn't help but look heavy. Immediately, Duo and Anti ordered each other not to interfere. Thereafter, this is the first move by the ant. Kaido, let me see if your strength has regressed first. Brush. Big Mom held Napoleon in her hand, her eyes were red and fierce, and she rushed towards Kaido day by day. The ground under Anti's feet sank in an instant, and it cracked with a sound of boom. Almost in a short moment, Big Mom suddenly came to Kaido, holding Napoleon in her hand and beheading him. Kaido's entire expression sank, and then he raised his head, his eyes were also full of fighting spirit, and he roared. Before asking Lousy, why not let Lousy see if your old woman's strength has declined compared to before? Linlin. Brush. The mace was raised in an instant, setting off a hurricane of tearing air. Advertisement. The mace came into contact with Napoleon, and a terrifying aftermath erupted instantly between the two bodies exuding terrible oppression. The ground under Kaido and Big Mom's feet suddenly sank with the naked eye, and the terrifying aftermath spread, and the ground collapsed layer by layer. Perospero looked at the collapsed land that spread over, and Perospero was frightened and angry at his mother's strength. He quickly held the candy cane in his hand, and used the fruit ability to block the aftermath that could reach them. The fleet of Beast's Pirates felt as if it was facing a storm, and the entire fleet was unstable for a while. Hey, is this a lie? We are at sea. Is that the fight between the emperors of the sea? What? Two monsters. The people of the Beast's Pirates looked terrified. They watched the collision in the distance, and every time the two sides collided, black and red lightning flashed faintly, and even the sky was trembling. This terrifying scene, and the terrible aftermath of the tide, I believe that if they were not subordinates of one of them, they would not be able to resist running away, right? It's terrible, how can that kind of power be possessed by humans? Point 0 for flowers. On the harbor of Cake Island. Boom, boom, boom. Kaido and Big Mom kept fighting, Mace and Napoleon rubbed fierce sparks, and the battlefield was constantly flashing with black and red lightning. After a hand-to-hand fight, they separated. Ant looked happy. There is a loophole. Seeing Kaido raise the mace, Big Mom made a fist with her left hand and slammed it on Kaido's face. Kaido couldn't help but took a step back, but Kaido caught the punch with his face, the veins in his arm bulged, his eyes showed excitement, and he suddenly forcibly smashed the mace at Big Mom. Big Mom used Napoleon to block it, but this time it was Kaido's turn to slam his fist on Big Mom's face. Linlin, it's you who has a flaw this time. Advertisement. With a sound of boom, the ant was thrown back, but Charlotte Linlin stretched out her hand to summon Thundercloud Zeus. A bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket blasted towards Kaido. Kaido's expression sank. Linlin, there's no need to fight with old friends, but that's the case. Kaido let out a low growl, the ground under his feet sank, and suddenly the mace hit Zeus. Charlotte Linlin saw that the thunder and lightning didn't work, as if she had expected it, she stepped back and jumped into the air, her eyes showed excitement, she held Napoleon with both hands, and suddenly threw it at Kaido. Kaido, take my old lady's trick again. Weo. Brush. This is a terrifying slash covering the entire port of Cake Island. With this slash, both Big Mom's subordinates and Kaido's subordinates showed panic. Mom, is this going to destroy the port? Quick, run. Katakuri, do you see the future? Perospero also showed a trace of panic, and couldn't help but look at Kaur, who was only calm. Katakuri looked calm and said, they are just visiting each other to test each other's strength. After the words fell, the ministers around Perospero showed disbelief. What? That horrible fight, it turned out to be just Mom and Kaido testing each other's strength. Hey, Katakuri-sama, are you kidding me? The other people around couldn't help but feel a burst of trepidation. At this moment, Kaur continued calmly, and Kaido also made a move. After finishing speaking, Kaido, whose sky in the distance changed color, also let out a loud shout. Thunder, 8 trigrams pill. 121. Kaido's rage, the Sea Emperor's true power. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Thunder, 8 trigrams. Accompanied by Kaido's roar, the mace in Kaido's hand tore through the air, and collided violently with the Titan move, Weo, released by Big Mom. The two moves collided with each other. Next moment. With a sound of boom, the terrifying power could not help but spread to the surroundings. Facing the terrifying power of these two sides, Cake Island did not know when the sky had sunk and flashed with thunder and lightning. This scene not only shocked the members of the Big Mom Pirates and the Beasts Pirates, but also shocked the people in Marine who were lurking in the two pirate groups. A monster of this level. It turned out to be the ultimate pirate target they have been fighting for. Is it really possible for them to win against this monster? Although the world calls the Sea Emperor a monster among monsters, no one will deny it. 150. But only when you feel the oppressive feeling of the battle with your own eyes, will people understand that the reason why the Emperors of the Sea are called Emperors of the Sea is because of their own terrifying strength. Moreover, there are currently 5 such monsters recognized in the world. 5. This number doesn't seem like a lot, but when I think that each of them is as powerful as the monsters in front of me, even if they are the undercover agents of the pirates lurking here, I can't help but feel a moment of despair in my heart. But at this moment, Peggy Wan, one of the 6 volleyball sons, suddenly saw an emergency call, so he couldn't help but answer the call. Later, when Peggy Wan heard the message from the phone bug, Peggy Wan's pupils could not believe it with the naked eye. He stayed for a long time and looked up at the copulation between Kaido Saito and Big Mom in the distance. At this moment, you can see that Peggy Wan's forehead is actually covered with cold sweat because of the news of the phone bug. It is conceivable that the content of the emergency contact message from the phone bug is so explosive that even Peggy Wan, who is the 6th son of the volley, can't help but feel shuddering. Advertisement. At this time, Cake Island is out of shape here in the port. Lin, it seems that your strength has not retreated much, woo la la la. Kaido shattered Weo, looked up at the figure of the ant who stepped on the thundercloud Zeus. Kaido threw the mace aside with one hand. It seemed that Kaido was about to use the ability of dragon transformation. Seeing this, the ant showed a trace of fighting spirit in her eyes. Kaido, you are not too far behind. Now that the test is over, I should be serious. Charlotte Linlin stared at Kaido, who seemed to know that he would transform into a dragon, and the aura on his body continued to rise. It seems that after the two of them tried it out, they were ready to show their real fighting power. When the Emperor of the Sea meets, he comes first with a knife. The purpose is to see if the opponent's strength can continue to be worthy of the title of Emperor of Shanghai. Of course, aside from the problem of not being able to handle it, Kaido and Big Mom used to be guys on the same boat, and the two sides have already understood each other's personalities. Since you want to show your real strength, you might as well fight as much as you want before doing that. Immediately, blue dragon scales emerged from Kaido's body, and Napoleon, Big Mom, burst into the flames of Prometheus. The sense of oppression on both sides, at this moment, faintly divided the Cake Island into 2 halves. The residents of the whole Cake Island who felt this force couldn't help but tremble, and some flowers and plants that were given life by the ant trembled and curled up. Big Mom and Kaido look at each other fiercely. This time, Ka-er's expression became serious. Kaji didn't bother to pay attention to Perospero and others' inquiries at first. Advertisement. Because he knows that if Mom and Kaido are just a fight between temptations, Cake Island will definitely be safe. But once the two get serious, it will be a catastrophe for both Cake Island and nearby islands. Fortunately, at this moment, suddenly, a person broke into this soon-to-be more terrifying conflict area. This person is one of the 6 sons of Ling Kong, who owns the ancient Spinosaurus demon fruit power Peggy Wan. Guy, Master Kaido, please stop. There is urgent information to report to you. Peggy Wan's intrusion made Kaido and Big Mom stop. Kaido's gaze froze for a moment, then sank with a hint of dissatisfaction. Although Big Mom was extremely dissatisfied, Katakuri saw this opportunity. Ka-er also hurried forward and said, Mom, let's end the temptation between you and Kaido like this. If you continue, I'm afraid the entire Cake Island will be destroyed because of the power of you and Kaido. After the words fell, Charlotte Linlin glanced at the port that had indeed been destroyed. Charlotte Linlin muttered unhappily, and stretched out her hand to change Napoleon back into the hat. Big Mom looked at Kaji and nodded, okay, Katakuri, as you said. After the words fell, Perospero, Smoothie and others in the distance collectively breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally time to stop. Leaving aside the destructive power caused by Mom and Kaido, the breath from those two people alone almost made them breathless. If Mom and Kaido choose to stop now, it is naturally the best. Even if you continue to fight, it's best not to be on Cake Island. After all, this is their base camp. Mom stopped, huh? Advertisement. Finally stopped. If we continue, I thought we were going to die. The ministers breathed a sigh of relief, and Smoothie stared at Peggy Wan, who was reporting the incident with Kaido in the distance. She said, but don't be too happy too early, this battle can stop, it seems. It seems that something happened to the Beasts Pirates. Beasts Pirates, something happened. When Perospero heard the words, there was a hint of amusement in his eyes. There are not many guys in New World who dare to fight against our alliance. How dare someone dare to take action against the Beasts Pirates? Tisk, who could it be? Perospero murmured in his heart, but there was some expectation on his face. Although they are allies with the Beasts Pirates. But it doesn't mean that the alliance is a real group of people. Coupled with the terrifying sense of oppression just now, if there is a chance to see Kaido deflated, Perospero is still very excited. But at this moment, after Ka-er finished talking to the ant, Ka-er looked at Kaido for 0.2 seconds, and Ka-er's expression suddenly changed. Not good. Ka's second thought arose. In the next moment, it was Kaido whose expression gradually became cold as Peggy Wan reported. Kaido suddenly raised his head, an unprecedented wave of conquerors erupted from his body, and landed on Cake Island and the nearby sea with a boom. Almost instantly, apart from Kaji and Perospero, the core members of the Big Mom Pirates, together with many people from the Beast's Pirates, collectively faced this horror. Conquerors lost consciousness and fell to the ground, on the deck, everywhere. Even people who still have residual consciousness can feel the terrible oppressive feeling like an island pressing on their hearts. They can't help panting, their pupils revealing panic. They raised their heads and looked in Kaido's direction, their hearts trembling uncontrollably. Is this the true power of the Sea Emperor? 122. Promise with Shirahoshi, leaving the Fishman Island. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Thereafter. The Fishman Island is here. Bai Ye is naturally unclear about what happened in New World. The Fishman Island is currently holding a banquet here in Dragon Palace City. This is a world that likes to hold banquets to celebrate, whether it is pirates, ordinary people, or kingdoms, especially the Fishman Island. After this catastrophe, the only thing Puyi can think of to entertain day and night is the banquet. Of course, except for the food and wine at the banquet, which was given to Bai Ye, Neptune took out all of his previous treasures. It was a big party that lasted for several hours. Bai Ye also enjoyed the banquet atmosphere. Because banquets are often held at Whitebeard's place. This kind of banquet with hundreds or even thousands of people is naturally much more comfortable than drinking alone. Ah, if you drink too much, aren't you afraid that Whitebeard will come to trouble you? When Robin saw that most of Neptune's fine wines had been drunk by Bai Ye, she covered her mouth and teased. Meanwhile, Robin holds the same orange juice as Shirahoshi next to him in his hand. She doesn't have the strong physique of Bai Ye. Although Robin can also drink, she is more at the stage of tasting. She personally prefers coffee that can replenish energy and tea that calms the mind. Whitebeard isn't Lord Bai Ye. Shirahoshi couldn't help being a little nervous when she heard the name Whitebeard. Whitebeard's name is obviously deeply rooted in the hearts of the whole new world. Seeing that Shirahoshi looked over worriedly, Bai Ye smiled and said, "Don't worry, considering that guy's health. I helped him drink the good wine here in advance, maybe he knew it was to let him live a few more years, so thank you for that." Mention Whitebeard, although we haven't seen each other for nearly a year. Advertisement. Bai Ye is very aware of the physical condition of Whitebeard's friend. For the sake of his family, he forcibly went to naval headquarters, and his body, which was already plagued by illness, was seriously injured at the level of Summit War, and his body was also opened with a hole by the Red Dog. The fact that Whitebeard wasn't dead is a living miracle in itself. Now a year has passed in the blink of an eye. If it continues like this, even if Whitebeard doesn't do anything anymore, Bai Ye estimates that Newgate won't be able to last for a few years. It is estimated that this guy also knows this, so he let Marco, who is obviously the veteran of the Whitebeard Pirates, let these people who have lost their integrity come to ask for advice. Whitebeard has no ambition to conquer the world, this guy dreams of a simple family. But it is precisely because of this that this guy can let go of his own life and death, but he can't leave a family behind. Then, Bai Ye withdrew his thoughts, he looked at Shirahoshi and said. Okay, little Shirahoshi, I'm going to head to New World after this banquet is over. Huh, Master Bai Ye, you are not going to be on the Fishman Island. Shirahoshi froze for a moment, she looked at Bai Ye eagerly. 5 years have passed since the beginning, and she has grown into a mermaid girl in 5 years. However, after 5 years, did they meet again so soon and separate again? Shirahoshi's clear eyes could not help revealing eagerness and a trace of tears. Ah, it seems that the mermaid princess is very reluctant to part with you. Robin put down the glass of juice at the side, and added something with a mysterious smile. Bai Ye pretended not to see it. Bai Ye let Shirahoshi hold him in both hands. Bai Ye smiled and said, "Don't worry, I have something to solve in New World, and if you are worried about meeting next time." Bai Ye thought about it, and added, "Then why don't we make an agreement?" Advertisement. A promise. Shirahoshi heard the words, and then, she suddenly thought of something, and asked, is it like the agreement between that human Joey and the mermaid princess at that time? Joey and the mermaid princess. It's a record in the main text of history, I told her. Robin closed his eyes, nodded and said, Bai Ye. But considering his agreement with those sea kings. Bai Ye nodded, yes, but not either. Master Bai Ye. Shirahoshi hesitated when he heard this. Seeing the tears in the corners of Shirahoshi's eyes, Bai Ye explained with a smile. Don't worry, I mean, this is because this is an agreement between me and you, not the agreement between the human and the mermaid princess at the time. As for not, it means that the agreement between us will not be fulfilled in the end like theirs, because our agreement will definitely be realized, and it will not become a story. After the words fell, Shirahoshi froze. Even Robin's eyes revealed a hint of surprise when she heard these words. I thought. After a long while, Shirahoshi came back to her senses and understood the meaning of Master Bai Ye in front of her. Tears of joy appeared on her face. Afterwards, Shirahoshi nodded vigorously, and she rubbed her face against Bai Ye, and then she became flushed again when she noticed her movement. Shirahoshi stammered. Then Bai Ye must not forget the promise. Well, don't worry. Bai Ye smiled and nodded. Thereafter. Advertisement. Bai Ye told Shirahoshi about the Amazon Lily Daughter Kingdom. When Shirahoshi heard that she had the opportunity to leave 903 to see the outside world, Shirahoshi couldn't help being very happy. Because this is a dream that was born silently in her heart when she heard Mr. Bai Ye tell her about the outside world when she was 10 years old. Most importantly, Daughter Country is the site under the name of Lord Bai Ye. In this way, she doesn't have to worry about the agreement anymore. Thereafter, the port of the Fishmen Island. The banquet is over, and Bai Ye is here waiting for the arrival of the people from Daughter Kingdom. Robin was on the side, thinking back to just now. She put her hand on her chin and said with deep meaning, "It seems that the mermaid princess doesn't like you very much, Captain. Moreover, your agreement does not seem to be an ordinary agreement." Quote. B. I was curious and looking forward to seeing Robin, Lu Tian smiled. He found that Robin seemed to be interested in 8 trigrams in addition to history. But at this moment, Bai Ye let go of his knowledge, and he murmured softly, "Here we come." Inside Bai Ye's knowledge and color perception, outside the bubble layer of the port of the Fishmen Island. This is the people from the 9 Snake Pirates. In this way, it also means that he is going to enter the New World. 123. The 9 Snake Pirates arrive, head to New World. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Master Bai Ye. After the ship of the 9 Snake Island pirates arrived at the port of the Fishmen Island, Granny Za came down from the deck and saluted Bai Ye. The rest of the 9 Snake Pirates members showed curiosity and looked at this beautiful the Fishmen Island in the deep sea. Since Daughter Country implements a closed-door policy, even members of the 9 Snake Pirates rarely come to the Fishmen Island, a legendary and beautiful island. Well, where's Hancock? Bai Ye nodded, and he looked at the 9 Snake Pirates ship. The mother-in-law coughed lightly when she heard the words, and said in a low voice, "Master Shiji will come down soon." After the mother-in-law's voice fell, I saw that Hancock, who was carefully dressed and wearing a purple cheongsam, walked off the ship of the 9 Snake Pirates. But when Hancock and Bai Ye looked at each other, Hancock's haughty aura revealed a hint of shame. After all, in front of her eyes was the man who possessed all of her. The first memory will always be deep, so facing Bai Ye, Hancock felt a little ashamed in his heart. And along the way, after Hancock heard the news about the Fishmen Island from Granny Z, Hancock kept asking Granny Z to change her clothes and dress up, and it could be seen that her heart was never really peaceful along the way. Fortunately, at this time there was Granny Yi, who coughed lightly, and Hancock noticed that the 9 Snake Pirates were curious about the Fishmen Island, so she turned serious, stepped forward to Bai Ye, and asked, Master Bai Ye, cough, where is the mermaid princess now?" As he said that, Hancock looked a little inadvertently avoiding his sight. Time to notify Shirahoshi. Bai Ye smiled at Hancock, he looked at Robin, and Robin nodded. Afterwards, Robin crossed her white hands, closed her blue eyes, and started using the flower fruit ability to inform Shirahoshi and Neptune in Ryugu City. Advertisement. Since the Fishmen Island has just been invaded by the Beast's pirates, it is enough for Bai Ye to order Granny Za to come to the port of the Fishmen Island when the 9 Snake Pirates arrive. Then use Robin's ability to notify Neptune and Shirahoshi. In this way, it would be great not to cause unnecessary panic in the Fishmen Island. After all, due to the speed of news transmission, in the Fishmen Island's current cognition, Hancock's identity is still one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Shichibukai came to the Fishmen Island, just after Jack the Drow invaded. If not notified in advance, it will inevitably cause some misunderstandings. Subsequently, after Robin notified Dragon Palace City, she was standing beside Bai Ye. Robin saw Hancock looking at her. Robin's eyes blushed slightly, and he turned his head and tried not to look at Hancock. Speaking of which, she was indispensable for what happened the day before yesterday. And Robin actually regretted it that night. Because it was the first relationship with the Empress, some of her actions that were obviously taken care of behind her were embarrassing to death. Someone was comfortable, but she had almost no energy. Not to mention, there is also the Pirate Empress. At this time, Hancock seemed to have noticed Robin's strangeness, and Hancock couldn't help but turn red. It can be seen that some unforgettable memories of the two of them are extremely profound. Fortunately, at this time, a group of people came from the direction of Dragon Palace City. It was Neptune, the king of the Fishmen Island, and Shirahoshi who came to the port of the Fishmen Island amidst the shock of the women of the 9 Snake Pirates. The Mermaid clan, even if compared to the Empress, no, it should still be a little worse than the Empress. Wow, there is such a huge mermaid. Is this the mermaid princess from Mermaid Island? Advertisement. Rao is my mother-in-law. When she saw Shirahoshi's appearance that is far bigger than ordinary mermaids, but also more touching and lovely, my mother-in-law couldn't help but let out a sigh. In Granny Z's opinion, although the beauty of this mermaid princess is completely different from that of Snake Princess, it is absolutely on par. Moreover, the mother-in-law is old and smart, so why can't she see that the relationship between this mermaid princess and Master Bai Ye seems to be a little delicate? After all, my mother-in-law remembers that the tails of mermaids will turn into legs when they are 30 years old. But the mermaid princess in front of me is the royal family of the Fishman Island. Immediately, Po was thinking, and she looked at Neptune next to Shirahoshi. Po knew in her heart that this was probably the king of the Fishman Island, Neptune. When Neptune saw the members of the 9 snake pirates, and even the pirate empress came to the Fishman Island in person, Neptune couldn't help being surprised. He knew that Bai Ye planned to let Shirahoshi go to the daughter country. However, Neptune did not expect that this incident would bring the rumored pirate empress, Boa Hancock, to the Fishman Island in person. Later, especially when Neptune learned that Grandma Z was the emperor before the 3rd generation of 9 Snake Island, Neptune couldn't help but let out a deep shock. The emperor before the 3rd generation of 9 Snake Island, he saw Grandma Z salute to Bai Ye. From this point of view, there may be a lot of relationship between 9 Snake Island and One Piece and Bai Ye. And One Piece is one of the Shichibukai. Now this situation. Neptune realized many things instantly. Afterwards, Neptune was a little fortunate to let Shirahoshi leave the Fishman Island temporarily. If what happened with Jack the Drow before made Neptune feel that the whole world is about to usher in a storm. So here and now, advertisement. Neptune can already be sure. The impact of this storm is absolutely unprecedented, and it even shakes the power zone of the world. As the king of the Fishman Island, Neptune has already blamed himself for not protecting the Fishman Island well before. Coupled with the actions of Hody Jones and his gang, Neptune has realized that Shirahoshi may not be suitable for the time being on the Fishman Island, because the Fishman Island has no power to protect Shirahoshi. So before Shirahoshi fully awakens the power of Poseidon, Neptune, whether as a father or the king of the Fishman Island, naturally prefers to see Shirahoshi safe and sound. Thereafter, Shirahoshi made a promise with Bai Ye. Although Shirahoshi was heartbroken that the long meeting ended like this, but it was the agreed relationship, Shirahoshi tried his best to show a very happy face, Wang Jiao Jiao. Because she also believes that the agreement between her and Master Bai Ye will not be the same as the story 800 years ago, because the agreement between her and Bai Ye will be realized. At this time, Shirahoshi didn't know that the moment she made an agreement with Bai Ye had become another king in the prophecy of the Twin Kings. Of course, the only difference from the prophecy is that Bai Ye, the king, dominates himself. It is the king requested by the ancient sea kings. Subsequently, the Fishman Island here is a perfect solution. Bai Ye reached out to take the farewell Hancock into his arms for a moment, and Bai Ye glanced at the boat with the Don Quixote family standard printed on the outside of the Fishman Island. Thereafter, Bai Ye took Robin to New World. Although the time is just over a day. But Bai Ye has an intuition that there will be many things waiting for him in New World. By the way, it's time to change the name of Kaido, the fake bug who is known as the strongest creature in the sea, land and air. 124. Doflamingo's fury, Bai Ye's return to New World, shocking news. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Time moves. The next day. New World. Dressrosa. A kingdom occupied by the Don Quixote family led by Shichibukai, Heavenly Yaksha, Doflamingo here. At this time, the royal palace located above the flower fields of Dressrosa. Dover, what's the matter? Since Torrebel, who had a runny nose, realized that Quinn was forcing their family to take sides, he had been paying attention to the boat that their family had borrowed by Quinn the Plague. Doflamingo looked gloomy, with blue veins on his forehead. Doflamingo ignored Torrepal, whose downcast eyes were fixed on an orange phone bug in his hand. Doflamingo awaits news, a crucial one from the Beast's Pirates right now. Just the day before yesterday, Doflamingo realized that he had been cheated. Doflamingo used his privileged status to threaten the world government and learned about the cooperation between the Beast's Pirates. Immediately afterwards, Doflamingo immediately ordered the cadre who was in charge of the man-made devil fruit trade with Beast's Pirates 653 today to inquire about the news from inside Beast's Pirates. If the Beast's Pirates were successful, then he still has room for maneuver in this matter. He just needs to order people to go to the Fishman Island to erase those dons quickly. The ship with the German family logo will do. But if the Beast's Pirates fail, damn, that bastard Quinn. Doflamingo clenched his palms tightly, the veins on his forehead popping out. Advertisement. If the Beast's Pirates fail, then their family is very likely to have an extra monster who can't be provoked and stands at the top of the world. At that time, even if their family does not stand in line, they will be forced to be tied to the Beast's Pirates. Although he hopes to see the world becoming more and more chaotic, the premise is that Doflamingo does not want to end up like those ants and cannon fodder. Bada. Suddenly, the phone bug in Doflamingo's hand rang. Here we come. Torrebel's expression sank. Doflamingo looked down at the kingdom DADC he ruled under his feet, fixed his eyes on the phone bug, and took it. My lord. The phone bug was picked up by Doflamingo, and the voice that came out of his hand was the frightened voice of Buffalo, one of the cadres of the Don Quixote family. And at this moment, When Doflamingo heard Buffalo's terrified tone, the bottom of Doflamingo's heart sank to the bottom of the valley instantly. From the tone of his subordinates, Doflamingo already realized that the news from the Beast's pirates might not be good news. That is to say, Quinn, that bloody bastard. Brother Doflamingo heard the half-reported news from his subordinates, and the next moment he smashed the phone bug to the ground. It smashed into pieces. Facing the furious Doflamingo, Torbol's heart became heavy and his heart was shaken. Bad news. Bad news. This is definitely the most unfavorable news for the Don Quixote family since its establishment. Advertisement. Immediately. Just then, a newspaper flew over suddenly. Torrebel used the fruit ability to roll up the newspaper. Torrebel looked at the news on the newspaper, and Torbol's pupils shrank suddenly. Then I saw that Torrebel, one of the top cadres of the Don Quixote family, trembled faintly along with his body while holding the newspaper. At the same time, New World, a ship named Apex, arrives in New World. The owner of the ship. It goes without saying. It was Bai Ye who returned to New World. New World, I really feel like I haven't seen it for a long time. Bai Ye stood on the deck, feeling the familiar climate of New World's vagaries. Compared with the previous influence on the progress of the Sky Dragon slaying magic, Bai Ye found that since the Sky Dragon Slayer magic reached 99 proficiency, the originally extremely bad weather had no effect on him at all. Even due to the different bad weather, he may be able to use the bad weather characteristics of New World to exert stronger Sky Dragon Slayer magic. The characteristic of the Sky Dragon Slayer magic is that the more pure the sky and air, the more powerful it will become. Based on this, Bai Ye has reached the level of controlling the severe weather of New World. Therefore, the shortcoming that the Sky Dragon Slayer magic will be weakened in polluted environment does not apply to Bai Ye. And because of the dragon slaying magic of poison, it also brought Bai Ye the power to be immune to all foreign diseases, viruses, and even devouring. The combination of the two characteristics can naturally make Bai Ye completely ignore this problem. It is not an exaggeration to say. Advertisement. Compared with his strength a year ago, Bai Ye has definitely ushered in a leap forward. Just like Marine is recuperating, but he is getting stronger every moment. It's been a while, indeed. On the side, Robin, who exuded an intellectual temperament, was sitting on the coffee table reading a book. She closed the book from the Fishmen Island. She looked at the erratic waters of the New World with a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. New World, the first time she came here, the purpose was to leave West Blue. It was also at that time that she met Bai Ye for the first time, the person who changed her destiny in a sense. So, thinking about the relationship between her and Bai Ye now, Robin raised her chin, and she lifted a strand of hair behind her ears, and she couldn't help but lament the wonder of time and fate. And with this year's experience, Robin also understood many things. The true strength of those monsters in New World cannot be measured by the concept of human beings. Considering what happened before Chitra Wolf, I am afraid that there are many monsters hidden in the world government. These mighty forces, and the emergence of the Revolutionary Army before. Robin could faintly feel that New World should not be peaceful at this time. Really, Robin noticed a newspaper blown by the sea breeze in the distance. She took the newspaper with her devil fruit ability, and Robin's eyes glanced at the news released by the World Economic News this morning, and Robin's eyes gradually changed, a little heavy. Just yesterday afternoon, the Beast's pirates and the Big Mom pirates suddenly attacked the Whitebeard Pirates, who are also one of the emperors of the sea. And the Red Hair Pirates were also attacked by Naval Headquarters New Admiral Fujitora for the first time. Advertisement. 125. Kaido's face, New World's turmoil. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. It really won't be too peaceful here in New World. Bai Ye came to Robin, saw the news released this morning in Robin's hands, and said. Robin turned his head. You don't seem surprised. Bai Ye spread his hands together and said, Kaido and Marine don't move much, how can it be interesting? Right. As he spoke, Bai Ye looked at the long-lost scenery of New World, with a look of anticipation on his face. It's been a year since he left New World. A year ago, he was in order to upgrade the Dragon Slayer magic in the sky. And now, a year later, he also wanted to test his current strength by the way. If New World is too peaceful at this time, he will have a lot of fun. If Bai Ye remembers correctly, New Naval Headquarters is also located in New World after the transfer. I just don't know if the Red Dog will bring him a gift, after knowing that he returns to New World. Bai Ye misses the current New World, as well as some old friends, guys who barely got on. Advertisement. After all, before he went to East Blue, he thought he could meet the Golden Lion, but unfortunately, Bai Ye didn't find a suitable opponent until the magic proficiency of Dragon Slayer in the sky reached 99. Sure enough, things like opponents still need to come to New World. Bai Ye murmured. Robin seemed to remember something, and said, but I remember you and the Whitebeard Pirates. Bai Ye naturally knew what Robin was worried about. The combination of the two Four Emperors Alliance is a very terrifying thing for New World itself, let alone the two Sea Emperors Alliance to deal with Whitebeard. Thinking of Whitebeard, Bai Ye smiled nostalgically and said, don't worry about that, Whitebeard is not that easy to deal with. As a friend, I know him very well, and Weibo still has my phone bug. It's totally enough for me. Said, Bai Ye glanced at the phone bug that Weibo used to contact him on the boat. The duration of battles between big pirates is generally extremely long. Not to mention that it has reached the point where it is known as the Emperor of the Sea in New World, and it is normal for it to last for several days or even weeks. Bai Ye has never fought against Kaido and Big Mom, but with the red hair and understanding of Whitebeard. Bai Ye believes that even if these two guys join forces, they will not be able to pose a huge threat to the Whitebeard Pirates in a short time. It's just that the only thing Bai Ye is worried about is that this stupid friend Whitebeard knows his current physical condition, but he doesn't hold back his actions. Advertisement. After all, as one of the few friends, Bai Ye is too familiar with Whitebeard's self-willed character that he will go all out for his family. Thereafter, Bai Ye took out a map of New World. He looked at Dressilos on the map, which he would pass by soon after entering New World. Considering that there is a possibility that the world government is involved behind Kaido and Big Mom, it seems that Doflamingo's luck is going to be good this time. Looking at the marker of Dressilos on the map, he remembered that there was a man-made devil fruit trade between Doflamingo and Kaido. Now that you have encountered it, you might as well solve it by the way. There is a saying that beating a dog depends on the owner, but Jay is the owner behind the dog. Do you still care what kind of dog this dog is? 0 Ask for flowers, 0. Bai Ye's thoughts at this time. If Doflamingo knows about it, Doflamingo will definitely fall into a bad state immediately. Because Doflamingo is a smart guy, so smart that he can use his status and privileges to roam freely in the black and white underground world. Advertisement. But it is precisely because Doflamingo is a smart person that Doflamingo knows better than ordinary people who can be provoked and who the Don Quixote family must not provoke. Bai Ye's miss. That is, Doflamingo can think of all the taboos that cannot be touched, the most untouchable restricted area. As a person who witnessed the Summit War and felt the momentum firsthand, Doflamingo knows it very well. The degree of danger of that guy is very likely to surpass Kaido and Big Mom, these sea emperors. It is precisely because of this that Doflamingo had that idea at the time. The Summit War that attracted worldwide attention actually created a new sea emperor. Certainly, sometimes Bai Ye was thinking about whether to solve Doflamingo's idea smoothly. Suddenly the phone bug from Weibo rang. This time. In addition to confirming that Kaido and Big Mom led people to attack the Whitebeard Pirates' territory, Weibo also brought an interesting news in Bai Ye's opinion. The reason for Kaido's sudden attack on the Whitebeard Pirates was that Ace killed their drought Jason. I have to say, considering that Jack the Drow, who died so badly in the Fishmen Island, with Kaido's face, it is not unreasonable to be able to capture Wano Kuni back then.